And like that, we back. It is the To Be Fair. It is Unpacked. My bad. We like that. We back with another Unpacked, should I say? It is the To Be Fair show with
the G Shit Podcast.
It doesn't matter how you feel.
No. All right, and we have another really good episode this week. We're going to talk about the MARTYR Complex, and does the Black community have what one might kind of call the MARTYR Complex? Are we waiting for a savior to come and save us as a group? Are there any more Black leaders? Do we need Black leaders? And if so, if there's a leader for us to get behind, what would that actually take? But before that, I love for this amazing panel to introduce themselves. Starting top, G.
What's good, everybody? It's G, host of the G Shit Podcast, where we focus on family, friends, finances, freedom, and our future, and fuck everything else. Check that out wherever you get your podcasts at GSHPOD. Ha.
Trey, talk to him.
What's good? It's Trey, aka FBA Trey. I'm just here to do my best job to be a good advocate for the FBA lineage and speak up on our behalf. And special shout, somebody listen, special shout out to you. You know who you are.
Oh, yeah. Damn.
Hey.
Oh.
Got to blow kisses through the. That's a new one.
Whoa.
I will get you in trouble, but I'm going to hold off. Hey, Black.
Hey, don't do that.
Hey, Black. Charlotte Legend. Y'all see the Cash App in it.
He gonna be on his best behavior today. Now I get what was going on He want to make sure he go fuck nothing. I got it, Trey. I got you, dog.
Yeah, I need to. Do I need to request a song live tonight? You know,
oh yeah.
Quiet
That's your quiet storm over here with your boy RPA Trey.
What up, everybody? It's A Black Man. You can follow me on Instagram at Mayor of Charlotte. The Cash App is there. Happy to be here, making time for these brothers, and let's get it, man.
Yep. And last but not least, Johnny, talk to him.
What up? It's your boy Johnny P, host of the To Be Fair show. You can catch me every Sunday, 4:30 p.m. Me and your boy Quint, Old Head Rev. Happy to be here. Looking forward to this one. I like the religious and the I like these conversations, not necessarily religious, but when we talking about our people, I'm always here for it. So looking forward to a great conversation.
Got it. So as y'all know, we love to do a good icebreaker or two. So before we click live, we were starting to get into just an interesting conversation. I'm gonna throw it to G and then Trey. I think it was about Trump and if he's only loyal to himself. G, I'll let you kick it back off to where you was at.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about that clip that was going around on social media where Kamala was talking about Michael Jackson's case and prosecuting Michael Jackson, and Trump was talking about how Mike stayed there and played with his kids and all that good stuff. And I was just saying that ultimately that was Trump, like a different version of Trump. Is not the same one running for president. And since then, he's flipped the side so many different times. I feel like he's really not loyal to anything other than himself. Everything about Trump is really about what he could do for his name and his personal gain and, business gains at the end of the day.
I think like we only do that with Trump. Like everybody else in their past, it sticks, So with Trump, we say, "Oh, that's the old version." But if it's Bill Cosby or something, that shit don't work. Like, "Oh, that was the old version of Bill Cosby," something like that. I think from the beginning, he said his political plan decades ago on Oprah, why he would be a Republican, why they're the most easily manipulated base. I think Trump's main thing is always wanting to be liked. Like, that any little rich white kid, he want to be cool. He want the cool factor. So because of that, I think he will try to do more for the people because he wants to be remembered as a good president. Like, he don't want to be the bad guy for real. He will for people that he don't fuck with, but inevitably, the way history tells, he wants history to say he was a good president. And, the way people rewrite it, he could make that. But all politicians out for yourself at the end of the day. I mean, so to act like, oh, Trump only care about himself, but Clinton don't, Hillary don't, Bill don't, Obama. Like they all care about themselves and their own image and their own legacy. At the end of the day,
I'll say, I think this is like all these politicians are bought off. I think we all know it's a
Thank
corporatocracy.
you.
There's a billionaire ruling class that even buy off the politicians. I think Trump, what I can give him is since he already had money before being in politics, he's probably one of the least bought out politicians. So he probably is all about like his own self-interest and what he thinks is best because he probably doesn't have to answer to a lot of donors the way that other politicians do. And whether that's good, whether that's bad, it's yet to be seen. But I think that is one of the differences, and that's what people are talking about when they're saying he's not, he's not loyal because he doesn't have to be. He's not bought out.
Yeah, I think John kind of. Go ahead, everybody.
now I was gonna say he can't be easily controlled, so that's why a lot of that faction don't like him because he's not ruled by lobbyists and corporations as much as the Democrats are.
Well, that's pretty much it's close to what I was going to say. Like, Trump is not a real politician compared to these other ones. He's not a classical politician where you have like the Kamala, who's more like she's a chameleon. Like, depending on what she needs to be, you see her switching up her accents depending on the crowd she's talking to. She'll have like a Hispanic accent, a black accent. I haven't heard the Indian accent yet, but she's always going out of her way to, like with the fracking, she switched her policy on that. But I think Trump's always been the classic pro-American, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, where he's like not really, like y'all were saying, bought up by all these lobbyists and catering for them. I think what really put a battery in his back was Obama, where they had that correspondence dinner, and then Obama was up there roasting them. So, and he didn't like where the direction Obama was taking America. So he started contributing to his own campaign, and then against the will of a lot of the Republican establishment, and he's hated by both sides. So I think it takes a lot of a bravery to do that, and you don't do that because you are a person that changes your position a lot of times. You do that because you have something you're standing on. So, I don't think he changed his position, but I do think the Democrats changed their position because they were with Trump with the Central Park Five. Like, they were the prosecutors when prosecuting them, but now they want to put their racism on Trump. Even Oprah Winfrey, like he said, he wanted Oprah to be his running mate, and she kind of turned his back on him. Like, she was on the show, they were good friends. Even like as far as Trump's friendship with the black community, like there's a panelist on here, I ain't gonna say nobody's name, but they had a Trump quote on their wall and everything, and then it was all good. But now all of a sudden, we're not siding with Trump. So who changed? Did Trump change or did we change?
So who is Trump loyal to outside of Donald Trump? It's like, because that all I'm saying is he's loyal to himself. Sounds like everybody agree, but want to tell me they disagree.
No, I'm saying America first. Like, I think these trade agreements, that I think he's doing that because he genuinely thinks that America is being kind of screwed over by these other countries. And versus these other politicians, they're going to do whatever whoever pays them the most to do what they're going to do, they're going to do that.
So you think Trump's loyalty is to America? He's a true patriot. That's your opinion?
Yeah. Even like with the border situation, where Republicans, they want the cheap labor, so they'll kind of turn a blind eye, whereas the Democrats, they'll be trying to push them through. But Trump's like, he want to send them all. He want to make a wall and deport people unless they can have American values. Like, he's even said positive things about Black Americans, talking about we built this country, and then we even have some Black people that immigrate over here, and they'll say that we only built the 13 colonies. So, like, Trump is more pro-America, I think, than Kamala Harris or George Bush, who started a whole war with us just for oil or anything like that, or an Obama, who, he's not even of our lineage. He's got an immigrant background, and he did more for the rainbow community than he did for like the actual common American person. So yeah, I think Trump is in favor of making America great. I don't know about again, but making it great.
I don't know. Y'all ever been somewhere where like maybe you eating dinner or something, and then there's that one person who want to come and clear the table for everybody, and it's like you say thank you because they're being quote unquote nice, but deep down that person just don't like a dirty table, so they're not really doing nothing for you. It's for their own good, but it presents as nice. You get what I'm saying here? Like that's Trump as it relates to American people. If he does anything that's perceived as like a gesture for you, it's because he needs that strategically for himself. That's the only reason he does anything. It's not because he's loyal to America. Like I don't think Trump is loyal to anything, any party, any donor, any colleague. Like he's not loyal to anybody who is not Donald Trump. He ain't loyal to his wife, his kids. I mean,
oh, come on.
Well, let me ask you this, G. Because like he was a billionaire before he became president,
Exactly.
and he's already like in politics. He's not really like gaining a lot of friends. He's kind of like exiled himself. So like,
but he has a lot of friends though. I don't know. I would push back on that. He's still got a lot of people who.
But his friends suck. Like we see the people he put in positions. They're not really helping him get more money. So if he was only about himself, why would he be president? And why would he be like, trying to run again? I think him being president, not to say not liking him, I'm gonna vote for him, but from a billionaire to go from a billionaire to be a president and like to be a low like that, I think it's a step down. And he's only doing it because he, in his mind,
personal sacrifice.
I view it differently. When you have been a billionaire, had so much money all your life, how do you get more power? You run for president. It ain't gonna be through money. It's gonna be through a different avenue. So it's like he was rich and arrogant enough to say, you know what? I could do a better job than all these folks. Let me put my campaign together. And like, I mean, if you remember his OG campaign, it was pretty grassroots. He was not supposed to beat Clinton. It wasn't supposed to happen. No. And so I think like, again, his run for president was even a self-fulfilling thing. It wasn't about really trying to make America great. It was like, I'm Trump. I'm the shit. I'm rich. This is the next thing for my legacy. Like that's really what the play was. It had nothing to do with helping us.
But I think like we've already president don't got that much power because
exactly
Biden can't get nothing done. Excuses, Supreme Court, the Congress, House of Representatives. Trump did this, so they keep showing that the position is powerless. Billionaires have been running this country in the dark.
Exactly.
So he's to me it's just popularity. I'm old, 70 plus. I've done everything there is to do for a successful white man. Like, why not run for president? Oh, I won once. Okay, why not run again? But like, he's more powerful in the dark, like any billionaire is. I don't think it's a power play because.
But billionaire ain't a lot of money, bro. Like when you talk about these wealthy folks, these wealthy families that control the central banks, like a quote unquote billionaire is very that's not the level of folks that's really like making the powerful decisions. There's levels to billionaires. There's levels.
They aren't at the top, but they're power brokers. If you have $1 billion and you have all these connections, and
one billion, but if you got several billion, it's different.
He wasn't like several billion deep. He wasn't that. You know, he was a shrewd businessman, bankruptcy multiple times. Like he it's not like he was like a tech booming, like, you know, he didn't get rich off of tech and had like crazy wealth like that spike. He could claim $1 billion because his assets were in the most expensive real estate market in the country in New York City. Like that's why you can claim like that level of net worth. It's not because he has this cash flowing business where he just got it like that. We still ain't seen the returns.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't know if a billionaire gets more power by being a president, especially somebody like Trump, whose power, a lot of his stuff came from his image, and being president wasn't the best thing for his image, as far as like what his business was. Like what did he do? Like he was a property. He had a bunch of properties and like hotels and everything, and golf courses. I'm not really sure.
All over the world.
Hotels, real estate, investments.
Didn't he give up? Yeah. Didn't he give up the control of these businesses to become president? Don't you have to do that?
To his kids. like I said, it's all a Trump. It's all for the name of Trump and Trump Enterprises or Trump, whatever the name of his. I mean, he even created a publicly traded entity to help fund his presidential campaign. Like I said, this is like this idea that he's doing all of this for the greater good, I think is nonsense. I don't know why we would attribute Trump's running for like, oh, he's doing this because he loves us so much and wants to make America so great.
Who is what policy?
Exactly.
Nobody is, but don't say he is my point. Like, why y'all arguing that he is my question. I'm not saying that the other people are.
I'm just saying
it's a wash. Yeah.
Barack Obama, he got out of presidency. You don't see him no more. You don't see Hillary no more. You don't see Bill no more. Like, these people, they play their part and then they disappear, you know. But if you're really about humanity, about your country, no matter what role you in, you're still trying to make an impact. Only person that does that religiously lose draw is Bernie Sanders. The rest of them, once they're out of office and shit, you don't hear nothing from them. Like, Barack Obama still has a powerful voice in this country. He makes music playlists. He does all type of just regular shit. But he's not really out here advocating hard for no issues no more and shit. Like, they just do their job and they're done. Like, all right, we're good. But whereas if you really care, if you're for the greater good, when you're in a position, when you're out of it, you still are trying to make moves for the people. But that's why they all phony, because when they lose, you don't hear from them no more.
Oh no! Listen, it seemed like it came to a natural close.
Yeah.
So I guess as a second icebreaker, I guess one, it has been like an interesting, fun like observation, looking at like a bunch of different divergent sides that all dislike Kamala, from the FBAs to the Pan-Africans to even some of your favorite Black conservatives, like Kamala Harris, where right now she's currently doing the Kamala birther narrative right now, and she's kind of going down the line and trying to make sure that she was actually Black. But I guess in more recent news, she has had a statement last week that went viral. One of our panelists, he sent it to the group chat. I'm gonna push play on this. I love to get y'all reaction. Yeah.
It's muted or something.
Oh, it is? Oh, damn.
I'm in the bottom of the screen.
Nah, that wasn't it. All right. Well, nonetheless, let me see if I could just find her tweet. It'll make it more or less easier. But to summarize what she said before I get to it, as we kind of like waiting through time, she made the statement that gangster rap is not a product of Black culture and Black America. It is something that has been forced on us by the government, and pretty much most of the prominent artists have been paid operatives from whether it's the FBI or whatever institution, 3-letter institution you might want to run off. Like she quoted and used Tupac as an example. She used a couple different people as examples. Fellas, what are your thoughts as I pull this up?
I like Ice Cube's response to that, where it wasn't really gangster rap, it was reality rap, where they were rapping about their experience. Because if you look at a lot of Public Enemy and NWA, when Ice Cube was there, they were talking about police brutality and just like the whole situation. It was kind of like they had a song about a dope man, but at the end of it, they were talking about jumping on the dope man because he gave some bad drugs to the community, how they're not really doing anything. So I think there's a message in a lot of that rap. And first and foremost, I'm really tired of like immigrant Black people speaking on the Black culture as some type of authority. Like Candace Owens don't know like nothing about the origins of hip hop. Like she's Caribbean background. Like why is she even speaking on this?
I mean, that's beside the point. I feel like you can be.
That's beside the point. They like if I go to Nigeria and critique them.
I get part of what she said. like
isn't never mind. It's not important.
It's not our culture, but it is a subculture because it was a niche part. You know, everybody wasn't a gangster in the streets or doing drugs in that community, but it did get magnified during that time once they realized the effect that the music could have. But so I could see that. I mean, we're not the original gangsters here. You know, that's white dudes and the Italians, and they the ones that take and that shoot and kill, do all of the quote unquote gangster shit. But we just have our niche cultures. That west side gang culture. We didn't have that shit like that in the South. Like niggas listen to R&B in Motown, and we had crime and stuff, but it wasn't a culture of crime. So I could see that the music spreading and making it seem like this is all black culture when it's just like a subculture of being black.
I mean, I also think what happened was like Ice Cube said, like I don't think the white man invented gangster rap, but I think what happened was black people were rapping. We were doing what we do. We make music. It's a lot. Most of us on this panel have wrote raps, and did 16s and stuff. That's just a black thing. But once like it gets introduced to capitalism and it gets put into the machine, I think there is a certain version of that got pushed as that became capital, and it gets pushed. It gets glorified, and it gets to be made bigger than what it is. And then you even see that with like the crime bit. And I think it does perpetrate real life, because I think back in those times, I think that music that had a lot to do with the crime bill, and a lot of the real life things that we're dealing with now is kind of based on the perception that the music created. And it wasn't us that did that. I think that was the record labels, the people who own that infrastructure, that they wanted this particular sound, and that's what they pushed, and that's what they made money on, and we were the ones that ultimately were impacted.
Yeah.
What is gangster rap?
But see, like to go with what Johnny said, I don't know if y'all heard about this rumor. It's been mentioned for years about like there was this secret meeting of executives who.
Yeah, I think that's more so what she's referencing.
Yeah, and like there are some artists who have like stamped that took place. Like one that I can think of is Crazy Bone. I've heard him talk about it publicly. But I'll say this, like to Johnny's point, there's like music, but then there's the music business, which is not music. It's a business. And I think the music business did intentionally shift the messaging, the imagery, because when you look at like what we call gangster rap, a lot of it, to me, like Trey, you said, what is it? To me, it descends from that NWA era of music, like Fuck the Police, etc. And then from there, we started to get more of that, raw, like a lot of cursing. Early rap didn't have cursing, for example, right? It was no parental advisory stickers, didn't exist. So there was like a shift, and I think it was intentional, because when you just look at the youth in the late 80s, early 90s, they were really, music was helping build a conscious community amongst our people, and the music was a soundtrack for that. But then when you fast forward to the 90s and them calling us super predators and this war on drugs had its effect, it's like all our music growing up was basically former drug dealers. Like if we just keeping it real, like that's what rap turned into, was like niggas who used to sell drugs. And it got to the point where us, at least in my era, you couldn't even really rap unless you was rapping about something that was quote unquote real, that that was like something story like that. So I do think it was intentional. And even though Ice Cube and him is right, it's like reporting the news, we got taken advantage of. They took our news, flipped it into entertainment, and then they took that entertainment and started creating characters that weren't even real to help spread a message that's not even necessarily like a healthy message that's going to drive consciousness. It really it shifted what the normal, say, young black male was focused on a lot. Like it was really about money, cash, hoes after a while, and that wasn't always the case with hip hop.
Was it always about that?
I'm gonna read the tweet and then I'll get y'all reaction to it. It says gangster rap was never black culture. It was created by the feds who preferred deals to homosexual black men in prison and then turned them into artificial celebrities. The goal was to create false idols to destroy black American values. I would never change my mind on this. Do y'all think there's any truth to that? This is just wild conspiracy thoughts.
I mean, I kind of agree. I don't know if it was quote unquote the feds. I think that word might throw it off, but I definitely think the music industry is designed to exploit the black community and to make as much money off of us. I don't know if it's going to destroy it, but it doesn't care about us. It's milking us, for sure.
And the goal to create artificial idols to destroy the black community. You agree with that as well?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think the celebrity, and yes, it is, yeah, I can agree.
Oh, but at the same time, when we talk about gangster rap, I'm thinking about NWA and Ice Cube and all them, and it was more like revolutionary rap. And I don't think they were created into artificialist celebrities by the feds. They like grassroots.
But the record labels, like what about like it turned into Chief Keef?
Oh no, I get that. When she says gangster rap, that's why I said that's like drill rap. Like what is it?
But drill rap is a derivative of gangster rap. Yeah, drill rap is a derivative of the gangster rap. It's just a new version of it.
But even drill rap, they're talking about their surroundings. Like that Chief Keef hit, like because it's real and authentic. Same with the 50 Cent album. It's real and authentic. That's the same reason like a lot of stuff like Drake don't resonate because it's not real and authentic.
Is that the type of stuff that destroys the black community though? Like it's like
that's reality for most black people or black youth that's listening to it.
You said it is or isn't the reality? Hey, black, you was blanking up.
I said it's not. It's more. That's more of a niche. It's just like the West Coast gangster rap, Chicago and the drill rap, shit that they're doing, the experiences they're having. That's not what all of American black youth is going through. Now there's pockets of it in Philly and different areas in Memphis.
Yeah, it's a definite minority. It's actually a huge minority that are actually.
But what these labels do, working for magazines, seeing it firsthand, and it's funny you mentioned Chief Keef. I remember working for the Source magazine, being in New York, being in a conference room, choosing the next cover, and it was between Big Crit at the time, who was hot, got what he had out, and Chief Keef. They were both dropping. And the argument was who to put on the cover. And Crit was like, had the hell of emotion, but that was a moment where the media had the chance to create the narrative, and they all fought for Chief Keef, and everybody that fought for Chief Keef was Jewish, was Asian, was white. And those are really the people who are running the magazines, the blogs, and the narratives, and they're choosing stuff not only because it's popular, but because it's destructive too. And they don't even relate to it. They don't even come for that, but they want to perpetuate it to us. Like, we want the Chief Keef, we want this message, because Big Crit and J. Cole and Conscious could be just as popular. It's not no thing of like, well, this sells, so this is what's popular. Like, no, they can make whatever sell. They want this to be cool because it's going to keep us in a stagnant state. Not all of us, but the majority that listens to this and don't want to grow past their level of consciousness, this is what they want them to stay on. Like, let's only amplify this part of them, and then going to make the rest.
What about
of them,
like? What about like they might not have intentionally done it to destroy the community, but they done it knowing that it could have a negative impact on the community, and I guess they just had a disregard for that. And because it's like, even like with video games and like the correlation between violent video games, it's not a lot, but they're still like, it is affecting a certain portion. I think like this violent music, they're making millions, and it might not be destroying the community. Most of us might be living like not that life, but there are people that are affected by like the glorification of that. And I think we often forget, and like I think that small percentage, it's a loud percentage, because there's a lot of violence, there's a lot of crime that goes on amongst that small percentage. We don't really care about that too much.
I think it's like the algorithm almost. It was like one of the first algorithms, because it's like, why is it that today the algorithm shows us certain things and doesn't show us other things. And typically what gets heightened in the algorithm are things that are pretty polarizing, inflammatory. Like you see some of the most, sexual, aggressive, the algorithm's going to show you things to charge you up. And I feel like the powers that be running these entertainment companies back in the day, like that was a goal to create content that charged us up, so to speak, and not in a conscious positive way, because it's like yo, if you really think back to that era of when poetic justice was being created and you got Tupac out here shooting the cops, all right, like the music was creating a different type of generation, a charged up generation, a conscious generation. It was feeding us self-confidence, telling us to fight back, fight the power, fuck the police. Like it was charging us up in a way that was not healthy for their bottom line. And they was like, yo, we gotta flip this script. Let's focus more on, and it's like you see it, let's focus more on the drug. So gangster rap shifted from like this violent sort of rap to then we normalize cocaine raps, to now we normalize junkie raps, to now I don't know what's going to be next, but it's like you could see that there's a clear shift in what the main topic of hip hop was as you go from like mid 80s to the 2000s. You can just see different shifts. And shout out to the GOAT Kanye for shifting us out of the cocaine rap era, but that's another conversation to throw out there. But those were pivotal times in our communities, and the powers that be were definitely pulling the strings there intentionally for their benefit and against our best interests.
Yeah, now they got whole rap, and we see they going after.
Yeah, the hose is taking over now. That's a fact.
Ooh, that's
The only thing I just don't understand when she says, when this immigrant lady is talking about gangster rap is not black culture, that's like me saying that what do they call it, house, what do they call that reggae stuff they play in the house and everything? I forgot that shit. The reggae.
But you just
music,
mad because of who she is, not the content of what she's saying though.
But it's like if a white person says it's not black American, because she's always
it's either black culture or it's not, and it's not that doesn't represent the majority of us.
Because like she's always speaking on black culture, and it's like as an immigrant raised by people of immigrant background, it's like at what point do we have enough backbone as a people where like I can't go to Nigeria as a black American and then tell them what is and is not their culture, and then be respected as some authority by them. But they can come to America and they can say whatever they want about us, and then we'll defend them. Like, well, let her talk. Like, she just said that she was paid by her.
She's not visiting in America though. Like, she's from here too.
She's
like,
born here.
She's not.
Her dad and granddad was here.
She actually of the lineage.
Bro, I know, bro. I go back here 12 generations on both sides. I'm not comparable to a person whose granddaddy was born here. Like her granddaddy was born she ain't been here before the civil rights movement. She don't got no stories in her family about like with the plantations and fighting through that. She's not connected to all these black leaders that come over here. So for her to come over here, she even said recently that she was paid by her white employers and encouraged to speak bad on black people. And yet we still entertain her and give her a pass, bro. It's like the spinelessness. Honestly, I have less smoke for her than I do for the black people who are of my lineage, and they allow people to come from overseas, and then 2 generations in, they're talking down on us. It's very weak, bro. That's why Kanye said slavery was a choice, because we choose to allow people to disrespect us.
Person from the message, just like Kanye, that's why I love Kanye. I can separate the person from the message. That's like your boy Tariq Nasheed. It's everything he say in line with, like, he can say some shit sometime that is right and that is true, but he can still be a slimy ass con man too. And the same with Candace. Sometimes she can say some shit that's off code and like, what is this bitch talking about? And sometimes she says some smart shit that is like, all right, just because you might have Caribbean parents or this or that, this shit right here, you're right about. That shit right there, you're wrong about. Like, why is it so hard for us to look at people and not be able to say sometimes they right, sometimes they wrong? Because that's what humans are. It's like they say some one wrong shit. Oh, you remember that time Kanye said slavery was a choice? Blah, blah, blah. Like, who gives a fuck? The more you talk, if you're in that space of a platform to talk a lot, you're gonna say some shit that might come off wrong once or twice. But sometimes you're gonna say some shit that's right. And in this case,
so
right.
A-Black,
our culture full.
So you think we should allow people to be our spokespeople who are not of our lineage?
I don't think it's allowing. Like, I'm not the
most. Come on, I was like, yes or no.
We don't. I don't think
we should allow people who are immigrants to be our spokespeople.
We don't allow anybody to speak for us right now. That's
bro, come on. Come on, bro. You doing like Kamala Harris when they ask her a question.
Like, we're allowed to speak for us right now. We don't have no leaders. Black culture literally criticized it's anybody. You know who? Michael Larry Dyson is a joke right now. Like, everybody's a fucking joke. Who's the black leaders that's speaking for us? That's FBA that's taken serious or anybody. So it's not about allowing Candace to speak for us. I can't police who speaks. It's about having a community that's receptive to someone speaking, and they don't respect anybody in our culture right now. Like, who's respected?
I got you. So the person of immigrant background is able to come over here and tell us what is and is not my culture. I don't know, man. It don't sit right with me, but I guess we agree to disagree.
Our background can tell us right now. That's respected from an immigrant culture.
Ice Cube can tell me what isn't it. Can he disagree with her? And as a person who is who helped create gangster rap, I tend to follow Ice Cube over this person of immigrant background who's constantly talking bad on black people.
Or did he rearrange his context of saying it's reality rap? He was spitting in reality. Like, two things can be true.
No, he didn't say. She said it wasn't black culture. He said it was black culture.
It's not black culture though.
Wait, gangster rap isn't all in
so Trey, you saying black culture is a gangster hood culture? Is that what you're saying?
I said part of it. We're talking about the gangster rap. That's why I keep rephrasing the question. Is drill rap like part of the blanket black culture? No, but gangster rap at that time where it started at, it wasn't started by the feds. It was started by people who were crammed into these neighborhoods and over police and being terrorized by police officers. And they talked about that reality. Like that is black culture, and that was gangster rap. And then for her to say it was never black culture, that's like she don't know what she's talking about. And of course she wouldn't, because she's not of our lineage.
No, NWA, Ice Cube, that era, that's art, that's culture. But that was in itself the kind of the first of its kind. Now, when you take that and you create a genre based on it, and
that's not what she said. She didn't say present day gangster rap. She said gangster rap was never black culture.
Okay,
was never black culture. That's not true.
Did she say NWA?
No, she said gangster rap was never black culture. Those are her was never. So it was never black culture. NWA was never black culture.
It's being a whole black culture.
Bro, she said gangster rap was never black culture. You rephrased the question. At one point, gangster rap was black culture. It was a reflection of black culture.
It wasn't a reflection of all of it. No.
Or majority of black culture.
Even like I'm saying, like is black culture defined by what is what we hear and referenced in gangster rap? Is that what defines black culture?
That was never part of my culture ever.
But we are
the gangster. Like,
bro, when did this come out? This is like the mid 80s. So as a person who wasn't even born yet, like
the gangster rap wasn't mid 80s.
It was
late 80s.
It was like late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, late
80s, 90s.
Mid 80s. And it was instead of 87, it was 89. My bad.
It wasn't around that time. It wasn't a part of our parents' culture when we were born. They weren't gangster rap listeners. Like, and most of the people we knew wasn't like that. So I don't argue that it's part of our culture that much. It goes back to the house Negro, field Negro type of situation, because I think for the average person that were crammed in these black neighborhoods, after they burned down our neighborhoods, they put them in these small neighborhoods and deprived them of resources, and they had to deal with police brutality. For a lot of us, the inner city black people, our culture was dealing with police, like brutality on a regular basis. Bro, the police, like the Rodney King situation, they were doing the same thing with Chicago and the Mississippi and the South. We've been dealing with police brutality for a long time. And most original gangster rap was talking about police brutality. Even the gangs, the Crips and the Bloods were started in like those original gangs were starting with police in neighborhoods. Same with the Black Panthers. And this was the climate that birthed gangster rap.
So for her to say,
Yeah,
it
I
was
also
never
think that
black culture,
you're kind of confusing like the Public Enemy, Tribe, De La, Leaders of the New School with gangster rap. Those are kind of like the eras are really close.
Your
So
Public
those
Enemy was
aren't
not
the
gangster rap.
same thing at all.
Public
What you
Enemy
keep
wasn't gangster
referencing
rap.
is kind of more Public Enemy, Tribe,
They
De La.
did produce Ice Cube solo projects,
Yeah,
Bomb Squad, but Public Enemy itself, Chuck D, Professor X, Griff, like that wasn't gangster rap at all.
yeah.
but definition of gangster rap or gangster rap, initially called reality rap, is a subgenre of rap music that conveys the culture and values typical of urban gangs.
Who made that
Of
definition?
urban gang,
Yeah,
like
yo,
that.
Yeah,
What's the
you
source,
were talking
Trey?
about police
What's
brutality.
the
You were talking
source?
about like fighting the power and shit like that.
That's
Those are different things.
FBA. Who's that source?
That's Wikipedia.
That's a tether source.
White person?
That's
My
Hey
bad,
Johnny, you got to chill. He gonna make you define it and say that it's political. You
My
got to
bad,
chill.
Kofi. My bad, Kofi. My bad, Kofi.
Cherry about to make you define it. He don't like when anybody else with him use it.
Can take that white ass definition.
I think a lot of black inner city experience is reflected in so-called gangster rap. Because
But
When you say a lot, do you think that even that is a majority or minority?
We're talking about the inner cities?
Yes,
Like
I'm talking about inner city. Do you have do you have experience growing up in the inner city?
No,
Or is this
I
like
don't,
more so of like a safari perspective?
That's a good one.
a safari perspective.
Yeah,
I
like
wasn't even-
you
you only
adjacent. You on the outside riding by, just watching.
I'm just asking the question. I don't know. Do you
Bro, I
have
wasn't even thought of-
do
I
you
wasn't
have
even thought of at the
experience
time.
growing up in the inner city or living in the inner city, or do you have like an outside perspective
Were you
of
in
what
the
that would be?
trenches?
You talking about in the 90s when gangster
not
rap?
like
No, I'm
that.
talking about in general, like speaking on
But
what
that's
inner
not a
city
fair
culture
question.
is.
But
Well, you was
you're
just
talking
speaking about what happens in inner cities and what is
No.
reflective of a majority of it.
And you
we
said
were
us.
talking about
You did use the
gangster
word
rap,
us also.
but we were talking about gangster rap. And now
Right,
you're
right.
asking me.
Yes,
I was
and you
born
were saying how that
after
no,
the
you
era
were
of
saying
gangster rap, and you're
gangster
asking me
rap
if I was
continues to this
witness.
day.
No,
But
I don't know. That's not what I'm
but-
saying. It says gangster rap is
all
the
right, now
90s,
like you're trying to like
85,
diverge
87.
out of the question really quickly. So you were saying that it is reflective of a majority of what happens in the inner city. What gives you that perspective to make that statement? And I guess maybe I'll allow you to clarify. Do you believe that that is a majority, a minority of what actually happens in the inner city? Is
So-
reflective of a majority or minority?
It's a minority today. Yeah, it's a minority.
But you think that at a time it was a majority of the inner city?
Bro, at the time, the LA, Chicago, New York, these major cities, police officers were going crazy on us and mistreating us with police brutality. And a lot of the original gangster rap music was talking about.
You see how you're like
police and
you're
stuff like
conflating.
that.
Now you're going back to Public Enemy.
Bro, because that's when I'm reading this definition of gangster
It
rap.
talks about gang
specifically
culture.
says-
You even the definition you said that isn't the fight the power. It's the
Are
gang
we talking
culture.
about gang culture? Or we talking about gangster rap?
See,
I thought
but
we were talking
What
about
the
gangster rap.
definition you read just said it is a reflection of gang culture. I'm only going off the white definition that you just gave.
This is one of the things we got to distinguish here, because like let's say pre NWA, you had KRS. He was talking about what was going on in New York City. You got Cool Mo D. You got Big Daddy Kane, who was a smooth nigga. Like they had their perspective of what was going on in the streets of New York City, but their music was not called gangster rap.
Yeah, even the message was a
It
reflection.
wasn't.
Broken glass everywhere. Like all
And-
that shit is a reflection of what was happening.
And when
It
you
wasn't a
look at,
glorification of the crime part.
and when you look at what was going on the West Coast, the reason why they call it gangster rap, even arguably before NWA, you know, Ice-T, they were gang affiliated, which at the time wasn't like it was today. There weren't like, you know, at the time in the 80s, there weren't Bloods in North Carolina like it was when we grew up. There weren't Crips in North Carolina like it was when we grew up. Like these were things that were really unique to growing up in California. That's why movies like Boys in the Hood, Minute Don't Be a Menace, Menace to Society, like these joints hit differently because they showed what was going on in California to a wider audience. And it was like brand new. It was like, oh, that's the story of growing up in California. And that gangster, like I said, gang affiliated music derived from like the West Coast. It didn't derive from the East Coast. And so when we start talking about gangster rap, the gang affiliation has to be like a huge piece of that, no?
Man, again, bro, I think the reason we're having this disconnect is because we're not able to have like a solid definition of gangster rap. And then what I'm specifically responding to her saying it was never a part of Black culture. And when I just Googled like gangster rap, talking about Britannica, just going through the order, because I wasn't there at the time, none of us were born. It's talking about Ice Cube, Dr. Dre, Snoop, Ice-T, De La Soul, A Tribe Called Quest,
De La Soul,
and Trap. Those are nowhere near gangster rap.
De La Soul.
If you didn't listen to their music, just say it, bro. You got good Lord. Johnny, why you laughing so hard at the bottom? Talk to me.
Oh, Unc coming for blood, man. Unc, shut up, my boy Unc, man. He
I don't know. He's saying Unc seems particularly targeted since I made that crackhead comment. I don't know why.
But bro, you can't like, if you listen to Tribe, you can't say that their music mirrors what NWA was putting out. Like they're completely different messages, sounds. Same with De La Soul. They're not lumped into the same group as like what Snoop. I mean, just look at Snoop's album cover alone. Like, is so classic because nobody was doing that stuff early on. Like, got the bandanas. It's called Doggy Style. Like, just like it was mad, like vulgar, flagrant, explicit. That was new to hip hop. That wasn't a norm at the time before quote unquote gangster rap and those ass shakers down in Miami, who I know you're not a fan of. But I ain't gonna go down that path of degeneracy. But those ass shakers in Miami are the reason why we even have an explicit content parental advisory sticker on the albums.
You talking about the Caribbean man? Yeah.
I ain't gonna say no names, but when you look at their impact to say music and what they brought to the table, and when you look at what the West Coast brought to the table, and when you look at what New York was doing originally, that shit that was coming, like, and I say this as somebody from North Carolina, that New York was on like a conscious movement, bro. Like there's a reason why Ice Cube went to New York when he became a solo artist. You feel what I'm saying? Like he went to link up with those other militant folks who was on the same time as Ice Cube was on, right? So New York was doing something very unique, but also it was filling us. Pause. It was feeding us healthy messages, reinforcements. Folks was learning knowledge of self. Wu-Tang came out, had you speaking all type of shit that niggas didn't even know about, but now all of a sudden you a 5%er because you didn't heard like all of the Wu-Tang album. Like it was opening niggas' eyes to all types of stuff that they weren't really entertaining at first. But when you look at what came out of the West Coast, respectfully, in terms of what hit the mainstream, it wasn't this consciousness wave that gave the West Coast their brand of music. It was this gang affiliated, unique to California. Like, this is what's going on in these hoods. And that's why the stories hit so crazy. It was like, it was crazy. And even if you look at like a Ghetto Boys in Houston, different, like they tell their story, but we don't call the Ghetto Boys, and we might call UGK gangster rap, but we don't call the Ghetto Boys gangster rap, even though they were like definitely talking about stories of growing up in the hood in Houston. You feel what I'm saying? Like it just wasn't the same.
And I got you. I'll send you some stuff from the West Coast that's definitely conscious, or West Coast rappers that's conscious. Like I'm not gonna say that
from back in the day. I'm not saying like just blanket it, but I'm just saying in terms of
from like the gangster rap era.
What stamped the West Coast was not this conscious wave of music. You know what I'm saying? Like Chicago, they got stamped off of kind of like consciousness. You know what I'm saying? Even Atlanta, you know, Outkast, Goody Mob, Dungeon Family. It's like a certain level of consciousness.
Hey, shout out the Future too.
Yeah, he was Dungeon Fam.
Yeah.
Well, the album cover got the Dungeon Family on it.
NWA, like Cali's claim to fame is in the folks who really like put a stamp on like this is our brand of music. You know, it's not of the same cloth of what I just mentioned in terms of like Atlanta or
Yeah.
New York, Chicago. It was unique to that pocket of the United States, in my opinion.
I'm trying to keep it simple and bring it home. So you're saying Candace Owens was correct when she said that gangster rap was never like part of black culture. It wasn't reflective
Of Black American values.
A part of Black American. No, she said black culture. She didn't say value.
Yeah, she said gangster rap. I'll read it again. It says gangster rap was never black culture.
Period.
It was created by the feds who preferred deals to homosexual black men in prison and turned them into artificial celebrities. The goal was to create false idols to destroy Black American values.
So she said gangster rap was never black culture. And y'all agree with her.
What about the second part, though? What would you agree with the second part?
Bro, like can we get to the second part after we talk about the first part that I was asking about? She said gangster rap was never black culture. And then
it was never my culture.
Bro, you weren't alive at the time, so of course. But I'm saying, like, when they talk about Ice Cube, this is like in the 80s.
Wasn't a part of my family's culture.
Ice Cube again was like the 90s, early 90s.
Yeah, it's like it's so new to our existence. It didn't exist or even have a name until the late 80s, early 90s. So how could it have been like a fabric of the culture when that term didn't exist until the music came out?
So what about the Rodney King situation? That happened in LA. Was that not a part of black culture?
Of course, but that's not gangster rap.
Well, I'm saying you said
police brutality is definitely something that black culture, you know, I don't even want to say it's a part of black culture because it's not like we out here trying to get brutalized by the police. I don't even like saying it like that. Like that. That's a part of our culture. But police brutality is something that as black folks in America, culturally, we can identify with. That is a fact. Nobody's denying that. Nobody's denying that.
Gangster rap songs that talk about that topic.
Yeah, but gangster rap isn't just about fighting police brutality, bro. Like it's a lot that goes into gangster rap.
But there's a lot of that's a reoccurring theme is messing with the police and dealing with them.
But that was a reoccurring theme before gangster rap as well.
That was part of the origins of the early gangster raps when it was capitalized and commoditized. The genre was taken over. It was co-opted, and
that's not what she said, bro. Her sentence was gangster rap was never black culture. And then even Ice Cube, a gangster rapper himself, said she was wrong. But I got you.
But Ice Cube also wasn't like from the hood at all.
And
Isn't that
correct? He said
like he just said that he kind of made up the stories. If we're just using Ice Cube as like specifically,
he was a hood adjacent. Yeah,
he wasn't from the hood. He wasn't in a gang either.
So you think you agree with Candace Owens over Ice Cube? I got you.
No, I'm just pointing out a fact. But I do agree that like it doesn't matter who I like who said it. I agree with the idea that gangster rap has never been
black
culture in the sense of like it represented. No, I can finish the statement that I'm saying. It has never been a part of a majority of black culture. There's always fringe parts of any culture. There's like you can point at a minority group and say that these bad things are part of like the fringes of their culture. But I don't think that it's ever like specifically represented the values of Black American culture and is representative of even but a fraction of minority of Black culture. And that's why, again, I asked you, have you actually have lived experiences in the inner city? Because of then I would ask you, what percentage in quote unquote the hood are in gangs? And then that in itself would be very reflective of like the statement.
I would have talk about I wasn't alive at the time, so I'll talk about my lineage who was alive at the time. And my father was not in any inner city. Like,
what about you in the 90s? You're over 30. You grew up in the 90s. Gangster rap got its like the biggest push was during the 90s, mid 90s.
I mean, I recorded a lot of people that we talked about that. I spent a lot of time with them, you know what I mean? On that side of the town, probably where, you know what I'm saying, I didn't grow up there, but I knew some people.
So you was kind of like safari like watching pretty much.
I wouldn't call it safari because that implies they're like kind of like animals, and I think that's kind of racist.
However you want to flip it, but
I wouldn't call it safari.
if you're in observation, in my opinion, would be that you
I
look
wasn't
and
going
you
there
think
to
that the
observe.
majority.
I was going there
Oh,
to
no,
report.
it's cool. If you look and you think that the majority of black people in the inner cities are in gangs and that is representative, then I would kind of challenge the idea that maybe you did look at them as animals.
I look at them as animals. Like, why would?
Yeah. If that was the representation of what you thought the majority of black people in the inner city would.
I never said the majority of people. I think we're not a monolith, as y'all always like to say. So that was reflective of some people
Like a
within
hyper
the
minority,
black
right?
collective. Okay, yeah, a minority, but
Okay.
not a minority.
That was the entire thing that we kept trying to get you to answer.
But
like,
I kept trying to get y'all to answer. She said it's not a part of black culture.
But
and
this
it was
is
made by the Fed.
But we do keep answering that. You just don't like the answer.
And even
rephrasing it.
But when gangster rap dropped, like the majority of black people weren't behind it. It was received negatively by our elder class. Like it wasn't adopted and embraced through the 90s. It got a lot of pushback from the black community. When you went to a cookout, they weren't playing NWA with all that cursing. You had to go to Walmart and get the joints with no cursing.
Not your grandma. Your mama told you turn that radio off.
Even if certain songs came on the radio, mama's hitting the button. Next channel.
You couldn't even play rap on Sunday. You couldn't even play rap on Sunday.
I'm not disagreeing with that. We already said we're not a monolith. She said it's not rap. Was never black culture. Excuse me. She said it was never black culture, and that's not true. It was gangster rap, gospel music was part of black culture. A cookouts a part of black culture. There are a lot of parts of black culture. She made it seem like the feds just invented gangster rap, and no, people were describing their environment. That's what we do in our culture.
I think every black creation don't gotta be black culture. Like a lot of things.
What is black culture?
Are Greek, because culture really is just ingenuity. It's innovation.
A black man created the red light. It ain't.
We do. But what was black culture before the 90s? You know, it was jazz. It was R&B and Motown.
R&B was heavy. Luther.
Hip hop.
R&B singing groups.
Would you even say it was black inner city LA culture?
You couldn't talk about
our umbrella of ingenuity. That's the black culture. It's not the LGBT and voguing which we created, or it's not the punk movement and rock music what we created. It's like we're all of that. It's all a part of us, but not that one thing. Gangsta music is not just black people. It's a part of something they created. Their culture is innovation. Their culture is ingenuity. Like not the things that they create. Everything we create is not culture.
I get that. I think it's kind of vague. Is gospel music black culture and jazz music, is that black culture?
Gospel, no.
I think gospel is more so than
jazz. Yes.
Okay.
Well, churches. I think gospel.
But I put a lot of gospel on black culture as well. Just how it's evolved over in.
Thing to the white Jesus. Like gospel isn't inherently because we grow up in a black church.
I get what you're saying. Like, if you're saying like it's explicitly of black culture, jazz would be explicitly of black.
I think
culture.
Jazz is
in comparison to gospel. I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
it has to be something that the majority of the people can resonate with. Most black people can resonate with gospel music. Most black people can't resonate with gangster
good counterpoint.
What about jazz?
And
most black people resonate with jazz culture?
At a time it was, but black people are not just jazz. Jazz is something that black people created. That's that ingenuity again.
Jazz was,
but jazz was the sound of the culture for that era. Like before rap existed, jazz was the sound that would speak through instrumentation of what people was going through. Them jams, like they would speak through the melodies and through
but even so, rap and rap is a byproduct of jazz and funk in general anyway. That's what all the break beats and all of those things came from.
So that's what gets a little confusing, because there are so many elements of black culture that may not be reflective of the entire collective, because we're not a monolith, but at the same time it's our creation. And it was created by us, not by the feds, like Candace Owens implied. It might have been hijacked and taken over by the feds, but was initially created by us by some of us talking about our experience. And every culture has gangsters. They talk about Billy the Kid. They talk about the Al Capones. Even some of the Mexicans, the songs they play on the guitar, they're talking about gangster stories. It's not like every culture is excited by, the outlaws. So I think that's just an example of black people doing that, and it's our creation. And like we're just saying, these other things like gospel and jazz, if those are part of black culture, it's just hard for me to see how the original gangster rap isn't.
Black church is a part of black culture, so it's like I feel like that's why gospel gets lumped into that, because black Christianity is a big part of American black culture. But that was, like I said, like we there is a black gospel culture. I'll say there's a black gospel culture, but gospel itself is not defined by blackness, would be my thing there.
Soul music is, though. Would you say soul music is black culture?
Yeah.
It's just weird because you get these things on all these different genres, and then gangster rap is another genre, just like all these other ones we discussed, and we just like picking and choosing what is and is not part of black culture. And Candace Owens, when she's implying that it was created by the feds, that's why I'm like, nah, it was not created by the feds. It came out of a time where there were people in the inner city who were dealing with a lot of this day-to-day situation, and they rapped about the story that the reality rap. I'm not saying that we were all gangsters or anything like that, but for her to say that it wasn't a part of, it was never black culture, it's just like,
is gangs a part of black culture?
Hey, but hold on,
I think it's a part of all culture, right?
So like because that's what it derives from, right? Like gang.
Yeah, I mean, just like the cartels are a part of like a lot of the Hispanic culture, a lot of the mobs, they have a gang culture. Every culture has a gang element to it. Their music just isn't as catchy.
Her word use of saying, created, the feds created versus the feds manipulated, which I think more so what she was going with. Like, we know we originated, we started something. We didn't put this label on it, and we didn't like take it to this level that it's on. It was on at a point, but yeah, we created it. That's not the argument. I think what she's saying is that once they saw that it was there, because first they were trying to stop it from hitting the airwaves. They were trying to ban it. It was legal legislation. I forgot whose wife, Nancy Reagan, one of the president's wives, was against the shit. They didn't want to get played, but somebody sat down in the room and said, "Oh, we can use this. We can use this energy. We can use this influence." So that's what the power is in the influence. It's in these messages. What can we influence masses of people to do? And that's always been their goal. Whether now it's internet and algorithm, there was music, and like we can get control. We can monetize it. We can be the labels, and we can let this shit go instead of trying to ban it. That's what they did. So I think that's more so what she's leaning into, is like them taking something that we created and finding a way to like villainize it, to perpetuate negative messages and shit. And that's why our entertainments that reach the top are so dangerous to them. That's why any black man that touched $1 billion, that's entertainment, he's done, because it's the influence that they have. Unless you stay in line, like I said, Jay-Z or somebody, if you stay in line and in their good graces and do what you're told, you're cool. But if you have money and you have the influence of your messages, they will take your ass up out of here. You see what Kanye got on his shit, you gotta go.
You gotta go.
Bill Cosby got on his shit, you gotta go. Like, you got the money, we was letting, but you got the influence too. And so that's what the music and the gangster rap was. We can influence these black people to perpetuate something they're not doing over here in South Carolina or these places where they don't have West Coast culture, but we can make it, popularize it, and make them start emulating it and creating the same effects that they're having over there. It's about the influence the whole time.
Hey, fellas,
so really quickly, I got one question.
Hey, Johnny, I got you. Let me so really quickly, let's kind of like start rounding this conversation out, so we can kind of hop into the last one. So yeah, starting with Johnny, kind of just give a final word on it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and I think like the second part, like A Black was getting there, the second part of the question I think was the most important. Like, yes, we created it, but when she said about like designed to destroy black values, I think the manipulation has been exactly for that reason. And I think they have used these black celebrities. Trey called them boule a lot of time, like Megan Thee Stallion. That's a great example of like it's not necessarily it's not gangster rap, but you can see how the influence is used to destroy black values, and they that's what they've done. That's what they've done with gangster rap and changed it to, like you said, cocaine rap and then drill rap. But it's all of that has been done by a power structure to have negative impacts on the black community. I think it's very clear.
Hey, real quick before the next person goes, can y'all hear this? Could y'all hear that?
Mm-mm.
Okay. All right.
Screen not shared. Screen not shared though too. I don't know.
Let me know if y'all can hear this. What about now?
Hell no.
Okay. All right. Don't worry. Keep going.
Now, but
Oh, that looked like it was gonna be a good one.
Yeah,
too.
I like
Claude Anderson. Like, why
No,
do
no,
these old heads not know who Claude Anderson is, bro? That blows my mind. Like, we had to tell them about the best people of their own generation. That's crazy.
Well, they don't have the internet, Trey.
But he was around. He was a politician that they voted for. Like, he was an elected official, and that's politically irresponsible. You don't even know. Like,
I don't know if he was an elected official.
he was. He was in Congress.
He served under Clinton's administration. I don't know if he was an elected official though.
Yeah, but still, it's hard to have all that information back then. Like who knew about all the congressmen? Like, I mean, that's unfair. Trey.
And again, I don't think he was an elected official. I think he served on on Clinton's administration in the 90s. But I don't know if he was like ran for office and got elected anywhere. I don't think that was his thing.
I'll look it up. I'll see the specifics of it. But but the thing is, I think even when you present them the information, they still don't agree with Claude Anderson as much as we do.
That's another story. That's another one. That's different.
So it's not like they don't know the information. They don't want to know the information. Even if you tell them, there's like, don't tell me no, disrespect. I don't know. I don't want to get too much off topic, but respect to the great Claude Anderson.
You're gonna get called a HT again.
I forget. I shouldn't. But I don't disagree with A Black with what you were saying with what you see as her interpretation. I don't agree with like what you said, but I don't think that that's what Candace Owens was saying, and I think it may just be because I'm very skeptical of her and I don't trust her, and because she's had such a long track record of saying things that were anti-black to now anything she says is almost like get out of my face now. And I think that's a healthy way for us to be for people who aren't of our lineage, who have a track record of disrespecting us. I think a lot of this stuff we can probably get more into this topic later when we talk about the MARTYR complex. We picked up this whole we love the world, like, we're all one, turn the other cheek, to where when someone constantly disrespects us, we continuously give them the benefit of the doubt. And I think that's what a lot of y'all are doing with Candace Owens here. So, but whereas I'm not, that's probably the only disconnect.
Gotcha. Really quickly, can y'all hear this now? Let me know.
Nah.
Boys, that's my boy.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna keep working. Hey G, go ahead and
moist.
Nah,
yeah. So G didn't A Black.
Honestly, I don't think I got any more to add there, man. Like I said, to me, the underlying thing that refers to gangster rap is gang activity. Like, that's the kind of the underlying. It's not just about like hard raps. Pause. Like, you can be a hard rapper, like rapping about like Rakim, for example. Like you could be like ill and to it, but that doesn't mean there's gang activity affiliated with it. So for me, that's the differentiator as it relates to gangster rap. And I feel like as a black community, we wouldn't normalize, like, we wouldn't say like how you said, there's gangs everywhere. So we wouldn't say that gang culture is black culture. Like that, if I heard you correct, that we agree on that, right, Trey? Like you said, gang culture isn't black culture. That's just human culture.
Yeah, gang culture is a part of it, but gangster rap is just like the mariachi bands that talk about their gang culture is a part of like the Hispanic culture. I think gangster rap, us talking about like our class, our
how many
outlaws.
mariachi band songs you know, bro? Like, for real, like like, I don't, like,
Oh.
like, how do you like? Why are you bringing up the
Trey sick of
mariachi
y'all
man
niggas, man.
and
Trey
them
sick of
accordion
y'all.
playing
in
niggas, man?
1710. And what
We can hear it.
I heard it.
All right, we bite. We bite.
We
All right,
bike.
Cool. All right, yeah. Now finish rounding this off. We back in business.
Now, look, like I said, I think it's at the end of the day, if we don't say gangs are black culture, then we shouldn't embrace, say, quote unquote, gangster rap as black culture. Does it speak to a black audience? Yes, it does. But even beyond that, like one of the things that I've noticed about quote unquote gangster rap is how, at least on the West Coast, how many folks who aren't black embrace those rappers because they're in the gang life. You feel what I'm saying? Like, if you look at a rapper like YG, you go to one of his shows, it's mad other people out there. And I think that's also just the same with gangster rap in general. We as a community aren't the main consumers of gangster rap as it relates to money being spent, attending concerts, buying records, things of that nature. So when you look at that genre and who's really, like I said, the powers that be know how to market to their audience. Let's get this thing so that our youth, because at the end of the day, what was crazy is like we talk about it like it's created to target and hurt our community, but low key, those people in power are using this to target their communities to capitalize on them with the product. Like that's really what they're doing, because the main consumers of the product are not people who look like us. It's folks that don't look like us. So this is why I say it's not inherently a black community thing. It has been something that's been pushed on us.
You wouldn't even say it's a part of black culture.
A niche. It's like a very niche part. Like that's what I'm saying. It's a very niche. Like
I don't disagree there.
I think it's an urban culture more than black culture. If I'm like, it's a very, like how you say, gang. Everybody, like all cultures got gangs. So it's like
a low socioeconomic.
Do blacks have our gangs and a culture associated with that? For sure. But is that in itself a reflection of black culture? I don't know if I would say that.
I got you, but maybe a part. But I get what you're saying, because I wouldn't say it's all of black culture either. I never said that, but I'm just saying that for her to say it was never black culture, it was invented by the feds. It's like, nah, like we made it. It was reflective of some of us, not all of us, but it was organic. It wasn't like forced on us. It might have gotten co-opted and hijacked and used for something bad against us, but
that's the most important part, though. Like it got used.
But that's not what she said, though. She said it was never black culture. That's like when Kamala Harris talks about making collard greens in a tub. I think Candace Owens heard some black people make this comment, and she took away all the nuance and just gave it to us in a way that's not even right. Where like Kamala Harris heard like, oh, we had to cook, wash in the tub. They're talking about a Rubbermaid tub, but she thought bathtub. So now she's telling the story back to us, and it sounds janky. That's why I'm noticing with Candace Owens here. But I got you.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. It's all right. All right. So, fellas, I think that it's time to move to the question of the day. Do we have a messiah, a savior, a martyr complex in the black community? And I guess a good place to start it at would be that to have a messiah and savior complex, you have to have a willing flock or group that's willing to follow them. So I guess we can start here. We was having a conversation in a group chat. We'll leave all parties nameless, but I think this is a good launching point for the conversation. And we'll start with this. We'll play 2 videos and then we'll hop into the conversation. So in reference to pretty much this topic, do you think black people are more sheep-like than other races? Answer: yes. We are more sheep-like. Centuries of public buck breaking our leaders have made us docile pacifists in the face of white supremacy, hostility, and continuous acts of war. In reference to how we got, oh my bad, that's a period. That's the end of the statement. In reference to how we got to where we're at, and it took our complicity and sheep-like nature. So that in itself will be the framing of the conversation. I'm gonna play these 2. And then I'm gonna ask y'all: do you believe black people are more sheep-like than other races? We'll start with none other than the Honorable Dr. Claude Anderson. Here we go.
That we have a unified white community. They then broke up the black community by passing what they call meritorious manumission in 1710. And what that says now is to make sure that blacks never have a strong sense of community, a unified self. We will grant meritorious manumission. That's why all these southern states had meritorious manumission laws to any black who goes against his own people.
Which in effect said that blacks could be freed.
That's right.
To enjoy rights and privileges in the society for becoming traitors to their own race.
Right, as a free black. But it would never could be comparable to a white.
Right.
So when that law was passed, then we found that a black could be rewarded for squealing another black, what we call crabbing. And out of a possible 150 so-called insurrections or revolts, slave revolts, a black person squealed in every one of them. Okay, and he was rewarded for squealing on blacks. That's where you get the crabbing in the black society.
Which is why there was virtually never a successful black
That's
revolt.
Right. But see, and that kind of a system was never used against any other group in this country. No other group, Chinese, Hispanics, or any other group, that we have a unified white community. They then broke up the black community by passing what they call merit.
I don't know if you can think of a people who were more held back, more deprived, more sabotaged than African Americans. You took everything away from them and took them away from everything. They started in your country at less than zero, literally regarded and treated as subhuman, not allowed to learn to read or write or anything for hundreds of years. But you see, they come from a people of accomplishment to one degree or another, not a people of piracy and theft and appropriation. They come from a people who created and built and developed in their own land. And even though you did everything that you could possibly do to suppress them, to hold them down, to hold them back, and you're still doing that until today, nevertheless, I don't think anyone can dispute the fact that African Americans have become a global cultural superpower. Culturally, they're a superpower. Whatever cultural soft power that America has in the global South, it's African American. I don't know if you can think of a people.
Okay, so I'll re-ask the question. So do you think black people are the most sheep of all people, of all races? Toss in the air. What do y'all think?
I mean, I think we're the most traumatized, and I think like with PTSD, you get certain things. But I mean, like you see, I mean, we tried. Like we weren't sheepish from 150 slave revolts. That's not sheepish. But if you
would you say that there's well, go ahead. I'll let you finish.
Like I think it's been like I don't think we're naturally that way. I think we've been beaten into submission. I think we're a lot of time trauma survivors, PTSD, you get shell shock, you get that frozen state. I think that's where we're at. But to say we're just naturally sheepish, nah, we tried 150 slave revolt. So we were trying to fight this. I think we just ultimately lost and have been, held back. And right now it's hard to even move. We're frozen. But yeah,
gotcha. And so I guess I'll continue building on the question. So do y'all believe that black people are, again, the most sheepish of all races? Or could there actually be an argument to be made that we're the most revolutionary, the most revolting of all groups in America? Again, continue to toss it in there.
Yeah,
the latter.
Black people specifically, definitely the most rebellious, revolutionary, for sure. We're not sheepish. I think naturally we're more giving, we're more loving, we like the second video of the man showed, you come from plenty, come from a land of plenty, you develop a different nature versus coming from a land of scarcity, a land of pillaging, a land of like always having to fight food and steal, and like they have a different nature than us. So, if it comes to war and combat, one-on-one, without weapons, we'll win every time, So it's not no physical advantage. It's not a strategic war advantage. It's just a thing of nature. Our nature isn't to want to subjugate them or to want to take over them or to want to like genocide people. That's not our nature. Like we might have like warring tribes and civil shit and beefs and stuff, but to dehumane has never been our nature, and because of that, it's put us at disadvantage because we don't expect that from people. Like the shit that white people have done throughout the years, it's happened because you just never expect a person would do these things. So that's their advantage. Like our nature, we're gonna take this shit, and we're just always kind of like taking it back. Like, oh damn, like you would do this? You don't care about no traditions, no honors, no values. You're just gonna kill and pillage and rape and shit. And so I think it's just a clash of natures. And now it's just like been systematically embedded in us throughout the years through different programs, through different propagandas, through our education, through our music, through a lot of indoctrination. Now we're definitely, sheep, and you add the internet and social media, like, yeah, for sure. But it's not a natural thing. Like, it's all by design.
Mm. And so you would say that today we are more sheepish than any other race?
I would say if we have to group us all as we, then yeah, I think we have parts of us, us here, and like we're all not sheepish, we're all not drinking the Kool-Aid, but the masses are easily swayed. I think we see that every day, like our focus, our attention span is like easily controlled. You can tell people anything, true or false now. It's getting scary with that of like how people will believe anything, create a graphic or whatever, people run with it. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of that. But I mean, it's not just black people. That's just everywhere. The Chinese. You can argue if you go to China, they're robotic, they're sheepish, they do everything that they're told. Like so.
But I guess let me ask you this. So if let's just use like specific minorities, like whether you want to say you said Chinese, so let's go Chinese. I guess I would leverage the point. Could one say that the fact that they all come in and get directly in line and in step with the power structure, would that not make them way more sheepish than black people ever could be? Because even to today, we are the ones at any point that is still bucking and rebelling against the system. Where typically every immigrant and migrant group that comes in, well, let me rewind that. Not specifically like what's happening at the southern border, but any other group that comes in, they typically immediately get in line with the rules and regulations of the dominant society immediately, and pretty much don't ask any questions and adopt their culture immediately. That's what it seems like to me. To me, that would seem as sheepish behavior in comparison to like even today, current day black people, where even if we just go to like what we just spoke about with hip hop and how it seems like it's even an indoctrination, or you can go down to media and social media, and there's this consistent push to continue to try and smother the rebellious spirit of black people. That seems to kind of be naturally occurring. Thought.
I would say, of course, immigrants come here on their own, unlike us, and they also come to freeload off of us because of what we contributed to this country and never got paid for. So of course they would get in line because that's part of the trade-off. You come over here, you accept white supremacist ideologies, and you say black man bad, and that means you get to be a piece of the spoils.
So you wouldn't look at that as more sheepish?
I mean, it's more like a quid pro quo because they're
getting in line would be kind of what happens inside a herd. You just get in line and follow.
When I say sheepish, I would say we have been groomed through centuries of barbarity and buck breaking our leaders to where we do a lot of self-destructive behaviors that have been trained into us, including what Claude Anderson was saying, the meritorious manumission, where we'll sell out our own leaders. And we even see that with how they did Martin Luther King. We see it with how they did MLK. And we even see it today where some people will be very defensive of people like Candace Owens, who is a foreigner who comes and talks bad about us. But we are so like welcoming and sheep-like in that nature where, we want peace. I think they weaponize our mentality of the masses to quell those of us who are revolutionary. They have enough of us there's a critical mass of the people who are sheepish to where they will still to this day sell out the revolutionaries. Like that, we haven't been able to break that habit, but it's a critical mass of the revolutionaries builds up. That's when we'll be able to make some progress, like in the Haitian Revolution, where before they went after any white supremacists, their first target was the Haitian sellouts. And I think if we're going to get any progress, we're going to have to get our the people in the way who out of the way who are giving like shield, safe harbor, just care and comfort to people who seek to undermine us. Just out of the whole, the church situation, turn the other cheek, all this other stuff that they taught us, the preacher man thing. We all know the people that are easily, kind of manipulated. The politician that comes to the church every election cycle, we don't see him again, but we still fall for it every time. We vote blue every election, don't demand anything about that. I can't think of anything. Our voting tendencies is definitely the most sheep-like of any group of people.
Okay. G, talk to us.
Yeah, I think I think I disagree with the take, Q, in terms of these other communities coming in being sheepish, because they form communities. They come here and take advantage of what, say, America has to offer, and they funnel resources back home oftentimes, and they're looking to bring others over. When there's land, they have resources for them. So like they make sure they take care of their own and have certain things to take care of folks. So I would say that they come to America and play the game, if you will, but they're not sheepish in that they kind of play by their rules in ways that we haven't been afforded the same luxury. So I do think there's an intentional attack on our community to not build these things and these infrastructures that these other communities have been able to form. They tear ours down. I do think that that's true. But as it relates to us being the most sheepish, I would say by nature, no, we are not. But by nurture, we have become this more docile, like you said, turn the other cheek, let things go. This is just the way it is type of folks. And it's like, I just think back to how I was raised, little things as a black boy. I'm being like, as a black boy growing up, I was made aware that, hey, you're a black boy. You can't do things that other people are doing. And it's like the smallest things. Like, I don't know about y'all, but did y'all's folks ever tell y'all when you go to the store, like, take your hands out your pocket? They might think you stealing. Like, did anybody else get told this when you went to the store? Was it just me?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I've heard
think about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, as a young person, you're already framing that. Put your hands in your pockets. You already know you're being conditioned to know that you're being viewed different than everybody else. Also, like when I was growing up, obviously I share with folks I got put in anger management as a kid, but part of that was because, like, as a growing up, my mom would say, you can't respond that way. They're gonna look at you differently. You need to leave when this happens because you're gonna get in trouble. And it's like, these things did not resonate with me growing up in a way that, like, for a young person, it's not healthy. And then as you grow up and you start showing up in these environments, it's like, oh shit, let me put my hands on the table. Let me act right. Let me do everything in my power to make everybody else around me comfortable, because that's how I've been raised as a black man in America. My job is to make everybody else around me comfortable and not be a threat. You know what I'm saying? So I do think that sort of conditioning is something that at least I can relate to, and I don't think it's uncommon in our communities, and it's caused us to have this more sheep-like mentality of just going along to get along versus what we are by nature, which is people who are willing to stand on business.
Damn, that goes deep, bro.
I guess the only pushback that I guess I'll ask you inside that would be in saying that they're not as much sheep, and I guess it might be a difference in definition of sheep, but for me, it would be the fact that they never go against the structure of white supremacy. And I don't know of minority groups, especially once you go away from Hispanics, they might just like a teeny bit. they never go against the structure of white supremacy. If anything, they're always complicit and they are in step with whatever that marching order is. And then I guess the second question I would ask would be, are blacks more docile than any other group? Is there another group that's more aggressive than blacks? I guess I would say. If we're looked at as more docile, who is more like actively aggressive? Because to me, most things and most movements in America that are like real grassroots are led by black people.
The Arabs and the Russians.
The Arabs and the Russians, in what way?
And the Haitians.
Man, the Haitians not docile. They over here trying to come over here. I mean, the Haitians aren't like they be coming over. You just joking. All right, never mind. I got you. Don't even get me started.
Yeah.
All right, so like in the way, like in the Middle East, where they're constantly at war and they've been going at them since the Crusades. They've been going at the black people there too, and they've been kind of like tagging.
We're talking about inside the framework of America right now.
Oh, in America. Oh, nah.
I would say in America. So like Q. Let me say, like, when you come to America and you're not on the bottom class and you have the ability to be entrepreneurial, you have the ability to create your own institutions, you have the ability to create your own communities. Why would you fight white supremacy when it's not impacting your community the way it's impacting ours? You see what I'm saying?
I know, I get it, but that still would be, to me, that's like the most sheep behavior that you can possibly do.
I would argue that's not sheep behavior. That's self-serving behavior, because.
But right. Sheep usually move like how sheep move is in a self-serving way.
But they
do what's most safe. And that's why they follow like whoever the herd, whatever thing is. The person
that's the whole thing about being a sheep. It's for safety.
I would say they don't necessarily do what's safe. Because like they come over here. They like to be frank, a lot of immigrants will start businesses in the worst parts of town. If we being honest, like I'm talking about some of the worst parts of town.
Like, that's a white supremacist playbook. That's like exploitation of black people.
But that's again, why would I fight white supremacy if I can come in and actually buy something here and not get any pushback? You see what I'm saying? Like,
right. But that's the cheap part.
And I'm taking the money to feed it back to my people. I'm not taking the money to help your community. It's to help my community. So like, so if you are coming here to America to help your people, to me, that's not sheepish. Sheepish is coming over here and like forgetting like where you come from and becoming this like whitewashed version of yourself and fully embracing like the day-to-day of you know American family. If you come over here and you're not from here, but you still are looking out for folks back home and you're doing things in the name of folks back home in your community and you're helping establish communities here, like that to me is not sheepish when you're creating your own communities in a new land. Sheepish is really like coming in and being like, nah, I don't need that. I'm just gonna jump into
how are black people sheepish inside this same way then?
Well, I would say black people are sheepish in that.
No, because it has to be like a comparable way that you're defining it. That black people are the same people.
Exactly. So if these other communities were coming to America and didn't have the ability to get access to the things they needed, things happen a different way. Whereas in our communities, when we're disenfranchised, when we're not able to build any institutions, do anything of that nature, it's kind of like, oh, they tore down another one of our communities, y'all. You know what I'm saying? Like, again and again, it's like our stuff gets torn down.
And then we don't do or say anything at all.
But this is why I say it's nurture. It's not our nature, but we've been beaten to submission to a large degree. It's like generation after generation, like those other minorities haven't been beat down the way that we have. So it's like for us, we've been conditioned to not fight back. That would be my opinion. Whereas these other communities, that's not the case. They're actually conditioned to speak up, fight for themselves, claim they have certain rights. Whereas our people, we don't even expect to have the rights that we are entitled to as Americans. We know we're not going to get treated fair. We know nothing's set up for our advantage, and we kind of accept this as the norm.
Yeah, G.
So,
like,
who would y'all say fights for their rights more than black people?
But the other people don't have to is what I think. Like part of what G is saying. Like,
oh, okay.
And just look at the Asian, like we look the Asian bill that got passed. Like, because I don't even remember like what the Asian hate crime, what was going on, but
yeah, they said black people.
But they got something passed. Your Jewish community is the most influential lobbying community out there. Mm-hmm. You got these Chinatowns, Koreatowns. You got Little Italies. You got like, you know, where these communities tend to congregate. Even like Charlotte, for example, heavy Ethiopian community, undeniable. Like the way that they come together and build community in certain pockets. So I'm not here to even trying to suggest that like it's everywhere, but like for us as a collective, I don't see it. I just don't see it similar to the way I see other communities.
Yeah, real quick, I think we have sparks of it, but for every person that's ready to be revolutionary, you have a person that's like, oh, don't make no trouble now. Like it's the same thing that they from the plantation type of thing. Like we're gonna get in some good trouble. Like the John Lewis are talking about, where like the plantation house mammy would come out and be like, oh, don't you be make, you know what I'm saying? This whole thing where the revolutionary class of us, there's always somebody in our group to try to stamp out the flame of that, or go tell like Claude Anderson was talking about with meritorious manumission. So yes, we do have a revolutionary spirit, and when it's allowed to just for it to grow, that's when you see a lot of this progress from like these riots and all this other stuff. But we don't do that nearly enough for what we're having to deal with.
Gotcha.
But we didn't. But the only reason we have any freedom at all is because we did have some revolutionary spirit. So I get what you're saying, Q. It's hard to say that we don't have a revolutionary spirit and we're sheep like when we made all this progress, but it's not nearly for, you know what I'm saying? Like what we did with
I guess for me, it's a false equivalency only because of no group that y'all have said to me have had to step out of being docile and be actually revolutionary.
They haven't had to, right? I think we all agree on that.
Right. So then saying, being the fact that black people have actually did that more, it's hard for me to say that we're docile. If not like just the fact that the system is against us.
Bro, if we weren't docile, they would never been able to keep us in bondage for 400 years, bro. Like at some point.
Hey, G, you muted.
Are we talking historically or present day?
I'm like the whole way up, all the way up to present day.
Because like I said, historically speaking, like we're the originators of quote unquote civil rights in America. Like we gave white women an excuse to say, hey, we should have some rights too, right? Like we were at the forefront of that. So I wouldn't disagree with
but like outside of like feminism, it's hard to think of like a social like revolution that wasn't spearheaded by black people.
And it's because they haven't had to do it. Like that's so I agree with what you're saying from that fact. But when you look at the odds that we beat to do those things, like these were against the odds.
Right. But to me that's more so like the idea of like systematic, whether you want to say racism, white supremacy, or just in general, like a power structure that's against a specific group, and not necessarily a denotion on like how docile or sheep like they are. Like if you have to overcome the most to still be the least, that it's hard to say that sheep as much as like is the system against you.
It's both.
It's both. We've had some revolutionary
overcome okay, I got you.
It's both.
Because bro, if we weren't sheep, like I keep saying, like we would not, bro, for what we have to deal with they're trying to push us to a bottom class, the last class in this whole group, even below, like they prioritize us less than immigrants.
We've always been the bottom class.
Exactly.
Always.
So yes, we had to turn up to get what little we have, but we are sheep-like for not turning up more and continuously voting for a lot of people who are responsible for these policies. I can't think of anything more sheep-like than going to church and praying to a Jesus that don't look like you.
All the black people who got behind the crime bill and the black church community got behind the crime bill, throw their own people in. Like these are sheepish like mentalities, in my opinion.
And that goes back to
I
what
don't
we were saying
specifically agree,
before.
but
They're
I guess
standing in the sheep are standing in the way of the revolutionaries. So we aren't all sheep, but we have a sheep problem. I think we're gonna have to deal with those sheep before we get where we need to be. Even more than we talk about the white supremacists. At this point, I'm kind of done talking with white supremacists.
So Trey, I guess you lead to a good spot to kind of continue moving the conversation forward. So before we get into the actual idea of the Messiah martyr complex, and where we're at, and the idea that sounds like we're saying that we are sheep or we are docile. So do you look at yourself as docile? And if not, what are you willing to risk? Or does it all just become internet fodder and lip service and saying what we could have, would have did, or what we should do? What actual revolutionary acts, if you are not docile, if you are not sheep, are you willing to take today?
That's a tough question, man. Because what would be impactful? I don't want to just like crash out and then not gain anything.
Go on a suicide, straight suicide mission. Yeah.
So does that make one docile?
I'm willing to. I wouldn't say docile because I think a lot of these conversations, especially with like I've kind of alienated myself to a lot of people, and that I'm close with the Black community, especially like some of the older generation who are hardcore vote blue no matter who. And then even when they try to push these topics onto me, I'm willing to say, speak out against that or kind of like ask difficult questions. But I think that's the first step is to.
But I guess what actions are you actually willing to take? If the idea is that we're pacifists, that we're docile, and we need revolutionary spirits, what actual things are we willing to do? Are you willing to do, or have you done to actually separate yourself outside of the docile crowd?
Johnny back.
Okay. This is a question for everybody as well.
I mean, I think having a different perspective is a start. I don't know what you want people to do.
No, I'm just asking because if we're like stating that like we are docile, because again, we could be making a statement that like even I am docile, and that's cool as well. Or you might be whatever the like your FBA. So with FBA movement, I am willing to XYZ for the sake of this movement. That's not like explicitly saying that you're willing to like die or anything like that, but are you willing to put a specific amount of manpower into it? Are you a specific amount of like actual money or income? Like what are y'all actually, or what are y'all actually willing to sacrifice to not be sheep and docile and to move like quote unquote whatever the movement is for?
I got an
if
easy
not,
one.
is it just lip service and internet fodder where we're just talking and like discussing ideas?
I got an easy one. For right now, like I would not vote for the Democrats. That could be
there you
like that I would start there. Like that's something that's coming up that could be easily done. It can be repeated. It's something that all of us could maybe get on board with, and it would actually make an impact relatively quickly.
Okay,
that's a good point. What about like, do you think other people who are committed to Democrat, are you willing to? You think it's worth having conversations with them, like when they get around talking about rooting on Kamala Harris? Are you willing to? Are you willing to be like, hold on? Did you hear when she said she wasn't going to do anything that's only going to help black people? Are you going to bring that up, or?
I mean, I'm willing to have the conversation. That's why I come on here every Wednesday to have a conversation.
Yeah,
like,
respect.
I mean, like, yeah, I'm willing to have a conversation, but like, it's like, are people willing to listen? And it's like, but like, that's something else we could do. I mean, I'd be willing to, vote for a Green Party. If it was something like you said, they're for the reparations, I'd be even willing to do that. Or, the next election cycle, I'd be willing to look at. I heard Diddy say this, it was wild, but he said he was trying to get his own. He said he would be like support a black political party, and I was like, damn, it's crazy. They show him saying this after what
It may have something to do with like what happened to him, bro.
Like it's crazy. They show him saying that, and then after he's in jail, and
Bruh,
then
that's
so it's
crazy.
like I'd be willing for something like that. But like you said, the sacrifice don't have to be physical. Like we ain't got to go. Not yet. At least go to war. Or, some people make the ultimate sacrifice. I don't know if we all have to do that in order to make a change, but it could just be simple as
Okay, so pretty much just voting right now, right? A Black, talk to us.
Yeah, I said the docile thing for me is like less physical now and more in the mind. Like, yeah, like it's everybody's docile in certain parts of their life, which is also a survival tactic because you can't just be extreme all the time either. But I feel like mentally, you can be revolutionary, you can be rebellious as far as your thoughts, as far as learning. Something that's acting could be teaching and bringing awareness to others if you can't do a lot that's physical because we don't got the gunpowder to like just be out here revolting all the time. Right? But at the same time, you can still bide your time, be strategic, grow community, grow your thoughts, and that's not being docile. That's just kind of surviving and being smart because you can't take on power structure just by walking outside. Like, fuck it. Like, you'll get gunned down, be dead, you'll be a meme, and niggas will be back talking about some bullshit next week. Like, it never happened. So it's really not no point in crashing out. That's not no thing no more. So I think it's more mentally. I think mentally there are more sheep right now. There is more. I don't know if docility is a word, but there's more of that out there now than ever. More than intellect, more than free thought. They're even making free thought, critical thinking like you're wrong. Like we had the conversation about being woke or whatever. But I think there is more people that are docile that if it benefits them, they can get something out of it. They're willing to lay down. It's not a whole about people about to like die for a culture or a movement or people that don't really care. It's the system. So definitely most people are docile.
Gotcha. So I guess so far from what I've understood, voting and what did you pretty much like the revolution, whether it's through like conversation or through the internet, as in like having a conversation. G, talk to us.
Yeah, man. I would say I'm not docile. And I would say like there's a quote, I got it tatted on my arm. Shout out to Bleak. The strong move quiet, the weak start riots. That's something I do really believe in. And I feel like one of the best things that all of us can do is actually live your life the way you feel like you should be living it, based off of your values, your definitions, being in control of your actions, not letting other people dictate how you move in this world. And so I feel like that's the most powerful thing that we can do to push back against power, in my opinion, is to define how we want to show up and show up as that version of yourself. And for myself, I feel like just not only what we do here every Wednesday, what I try to do creatively in general has always been community focused. Professionally, at the center of it's always been community focused. So I feel like there are things that you can do just by being true to who you are that can make you not be a sheep. That to me is really the biggest thing. It's like, are you living your life based off of how someone told you should be living it? Or are you an independent thinker who define like who you are in this world and how you should show up? And do you honor those things that you define for yourself? Like that to me is the true sign of somebody being righteous.
Gotcha. So I guess if I'm recapping, inside like an abbreviated form, so voting, the conversation as it happens, whether it's through the internet or like person to person, and individuality, would be kind of like like what y'all talked about when it comes to not being sheep and not being docile. So I guess I ask y'all,
It gotta be more than that.
is that enough to overturn the power structure, or does that still become internet fodder?
It gotta be more than that. I think we're missing something.
I don't think we can overturn the power structure. I don't think that should.
Oh, my bad. So I guess would it be a better framing? Change the power structure.
Yeah,
I think Trey might want to overturn it though, but like to just frame it to where y'all can run with it. Change or overturn. Is that enough to change or overturn the power structure?
Well, hold on, I'm the only one that wants to overturn the power structure.
I would argue, is it enough to create our own power structure versus worrying about trying to change or overthrow somebody else's? It's like America was set up, and it's not like ours. We didn't set it up. We're not. We didn't create the rules. Like this isn't the thing that we have agency over. We've always been abiding by other people's rules since we've been here, and then trying to negotiate the rules of the game as we move forward. In my opinion, these institutions that are in power aren't going to give that up through negotiation. It's going to be like a brute force, just like something that's real ugly sort of takeover, or it's somehow being able to create something that can rival what's in power in a way where we have to be respected in a different way. And to me, I would want to focus more energy on creating something that can stand on its own versus spending my energy trying to tear down something that won't get destroyed, in my opinion.
Gotcha. And I guess just reacting. So do you think that that's enough to make that change?
No, it's not enough, but it's enough to get started for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll say, first step is to break the mental chains, because we've been like at the bondage. I think this is the first generation where we're actually seeing some progress in that regards after the Malcolm X, the last great generation.
Progress in what regards?
Like, I think that, like, I knew about all these race riots, Tulsa, and all this other stuff before a lot of people in my parents' generation. Now we're talking reparations is in the public lexicon now. We're pushing that. People are saying things like no reparations, no vote. The Democratic Party is less popular than ever. And I think coming from a point where they were saying that Bill Clinton is black because he can play the saxophone and crazy mess like that, like we would not vote for a crime bill now. And then like coming from like the crack era and everything, like I think those chains of that era, they were finally like with black fathers being the most present fathers now versus like we're making less like, babies out of wedlock this generation than they were like a generation before. So, I mean, I think those mental changes and a lot of those bad habits, I think that has a lot to do with why we're being flooded with foreigners, because that's always been the next step after black people started making some progress, is they bring in like a buffer class to prevent us from getting too strong or too powerful and too close and adjacent to the dominant society.
Gotcha. But has that gotten us any closer to any actionable items?
Yeah, I think you can't do anything unless you break the mental chains. Like that's the very first step, and we haven't even done that yet. I think we made a lot of progress in that regard, but I think we're going to have to, like, the first delineation movement was to talk about our lineage and how we're separate. We're not one big global Negro. The next delineation movement will be to delineate those who are in favor of black empowerment and are black first. We need to delineate from all the other foundational black Americans who are docile, sheep-like, and complicit. And we need to point them out, ostracize them, shame them, like they need to deal with some hostility. I'm not trying to advocate no violence or nothing like that, but we got to deal with the sellout problem, because at that point,
and just to make sure, when y'all say docile and sheep-like, that doesn't just mean that they just disagree with your perspective, right?
No, it's like in the courtroom.
Imagine it has to be more into it than that, correct?
No, like the older generation, like when the people used to get shot in the courtroom and they were going hugging the lady in the courtroom. Like we can't do that no more.
I equate docile and sheep-like to conforming to a group or herd mentality, like getting along to get like voting Democrat, for example. Even like religion oftentimes is the way that we process religion is often sheep-like, in my opinion, in our communities. So when you do things because that's what everybody else is doing, that's what the majority's doing, that's what you've been told to do, that to me is what I'm speaking to when I talk about this sheep-like docile mentality.
Like the people that only believe, like they don't believe nothing unless they see it on TV. There's a lot of us that are still like that, especially in the previous generation. Like they can say whatever they want. Like a lot of our grandparents' generation, if they see something on TV, they're just gonna believe it because they were there when TV was invented. It's basically like the voice of God. It's magic to them because like if they see the news, no matter like what they call it, it's a pandemic of the unvaccinated. And then they're like, bro, didn't you learn that if you have natural immunity, you don't need to get a vaccine for something you already have? They didn't care about it more because the news said not to. I bet if the news said you have natural immunity and Kamala Harris ain't black, the old heads would probably, just like that, they would turn on their heel and change their whole mind.
Turn to Fox News.
But I'm saying if they hear it from like their trusted media source, if they hear it from MSNBC, MSDNC, they already know that Fox News is. They already know that Fox News is going to be anti-black.
Got you. Well, I guess your definition sound like if you just disagree with me on like specific issues. Like
no, bro, no. If you're off code and you're not black first and you're not pro-black empowerment, it's not you just disagree with me. No, if you disagree with me, but at the end of the day, you are putting black people first. You want black empowerment.
Can you be Democrat and put black people first?
No, because Democrats don't put black people first. So how are you going to be invested in the
party?
Can
you be Republican? Yeah, ask that. Can you be Republican and put black people first?
No, you're supposed to vote your interests and be an independent. Your party should be is the Black American Party.
So in essence, all Democrats and Republicans are docile and sheep, then correct?
It's just two different plantations.
And it's only just the independents that's not correct,
bro. Yeah, because if you go along with a party and you're not going along with a what they call it, like a a policy, then that is sheep-like nature because you just riding with them. They got things you agree with, things you disagree with. Like if there's a specific policy that makes you vote Republican, that's one thing, but not just because you like Republican values. Like which value? If you can't articulate that, then you're just a sheep. And Democrat, like what value do you like from the Democrats? Oh, you just scared of Project 2025? Okay, well, you've been scared into being compliant without. That's all you got is you were scared into doing something. That's sheep-like behavior. Like, ooh, the big wolf type of deal. Now the shepherd is the Democratic Party. That's exactly what we're talking about.
Gotcha. Has everybody answered? Johnny, have you went?
About like what would I do? I said, what's the question again?
Yeah, I think it was would that be enough to overturn the power structure? We got to the sidebar about redefining what sheep was a little bit.
Okay, yeah, right.
But
the things we listed,
things that y'all said, voting, like conversations on the internet and in person, individuality, is that enough to overturn the power structure?
No.
Or does that end up as internet fodder? I think that G and Trey said it's enough to start the movement.
It's enough maybe to start, yeah, but it's not enough to change. And if we're not careful, it could be internet fodder. But I think like stuff like voting, like what Trey said, Black America, I think going independent and abandoning both the parties would be something that would get attention and would work to start making both the parties actually bring issues that really matter to us to the table. And then maybe we would start seeing change. So I think that would be a way. Again, we need to come together, like G said, building our own power structure. I think cooperative economics would also, finding businesses that we all support and movements that we all support would also be another way to get it. If whether it's like a Black PAC or different lobbyist groups, we could do that as well. But
gotcha. So I guess as we leave this, I'll ask this question. So to me, everything that has been said is something that I've like sat and had conversations with multiple people with at least since about 2012. And in my estimation, I guess I'm still kind of like wondering what noun would actually be different than like whether it was like that 2012ish through like 2015, 16 little era where like everybody was woke and saying that they was gonna go off the grid at XYZ, but these same exact concepts were regurgitated. To like the Black Lives Matter part where they like again a lot of these same points was regurgitated to where we're at right now. What will actually make it different? If you're saying that it's not fodder and this is not like like a docile movement that needs to happen.
Who? You asking who that?
That's everybody.
I
Or
mean,
anybody.
I don't know. Yeah, I'll let them go.
I'm sorry, I'm not really understanding the question.
What makes right now different? Like these are conversations that have been inside like the Black sphere since at least 2012, 2013. If you just go to like Tariq Nasheed and you go to the Hidden Colors, these are no different than a lot of statements and commentary from like a lot of the leaders that was even inside those documentaries and videos inside the interviews. If you was inside like around any version of like a conscious Black community, like Charlotte had a fairly decent conscious Black community around that time, where these are again very similar concepts that I've heard, in which I'm just asking what now makes it not docile and fodder.
I think there were a lot of lessons learned by those movements you described, like the Black Lives movement, Black Lives Matter movement. We learned that don't let tether studs, become the face of your Black American empowerment movement, especially ones that are paid by the likes of like George Soros. And
was that the lesson, Trey? Was that the lesson?
I think that was a big part of what caused it to fail. Is we allowed someone who was not of our lineage, people not of our lineage, to speak on our behalf. Just like we still not getting that lesson when we have our Candace Owens.
So nothing about
Kamala Harris, bro. But they don't. The first step is not to have representation from foreigners. Like no other group of people besides you Black people allow foreigners.
Us.
No, bro, because I keep trying to tell people that, but everyone's always fighting me back on it. Bro,
nobody,
the Sicilian,
nobody,
bro, everybody, they're coming at me in the chat.
Trey,
y'all coming at me.
Trey, no, hey, yo. But Trey, nobody let BLM happen. Like nobody was just let them and just was like, oh yeah, go ahead and exploit us. Like that was something that happened, and we should have been the ones in the front line. We allowed it, but we allowed it because we didn't get to it first. But like to sit up there and blame them for us being stupid and then not coming back and being like we need to be smarter is like that's crazy. Like if they took advantage of that, should be the lesson that we shouldn't let.
We never should have trusted them. Just like we never should have trusted Obama. We never should have trusted Kamala Harris. Like there's countless examples of foreigners being our representation and then doing the bidding of the dominant society.
But if
even Candace Owens, and we're never going to learn it.
Trey, if we're representing ourselves, they wouldn't be able to come in and represent us. It's a lack. We're lacking in some point if they're able to step in.
Because we didn't know to force them out the paint. Like we're so like welcoming to this global Blackness because we think there's strength in numbers, but in reality, if the numbers that you are building are not on the same page as you, then you get your Tarana Burks who will take the Me Too movement that originally started with attacking these Hollywood that's infested with PDF files.
Oh yeah.
Then instead of the Nickelodeon, the Tarana Burks, all she want to do is talk about the R. Kellys and the Black men that are doing things and turn a blind eye, and she's also of a foreign lineage. So of course you wouldn't have any. Like if I went to Nigeria, like how much advocacy am I going to do for the Nigerians if I'm in a position of power? Not the same as someone who's been there for dozens of generations. So just like the Sicilian mob, you can't be a made man unless you're a Sicilian. The same thing with these tribal chiefs, with these Indian tribes. You can't be, or they're represented. These Jewish, you have to have a Jewish mother and be in the bar mitzvah. But with black people, all you have to do is have some melanin, and you can be our representative, and we'll cheer you on and welcome you in with open arms, time and time again, even though it's never worked for us. At least not lately. That's all. I mean, is there some ability in that, bro? I mean, are you just like, nah, just like anybody can hop off a boat and we should, let them be our representation and then just trust them?
I'm just saying, I don't think they should represent us, but I'm saying there has been a lack of us stepping up, and that's the bigger issue.
Are we not stepping up, or are the many? Imagine if Tupac, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Medgar, like all these people,
bro, all of them died. All of them died like 30 plus years ago. Nipsey.
No, I just said Nipsey.
Yeah,
dog.
It was longer than 30. That was like 60 years ago.
And Nipsey ain't FBA. He from
bro, his mother's FBA.
Bro, he from a cherry.
His mother is FBA. His mother's FBA.
I thought he was from Africa.
Oh, no, not his mother and his father. His father was Eritrean.
His father,
and his mother is a foundational Black American.
So we are claiming Nipsey now.
Nipsey has foundational Black American lineage. It's not like claiming his roots go to these. Bro, I'm not like the
I didn't know about
person
his
to say
I didn't know
is
about
FBA or not.
I just knew about his daddy's side. I knew his daddy wasn't FBA, so I didn't know about his mother though. So
yeah, he's at least half FBA, and then he was born here. He's more FBA than Drake, because Drake is an immigrant. Nipsey ain't an immigrant.
Okay, my bad. Okay.
Oh, my fault. But all I'm saying is like we need to learn not to have representation from foreigners and just get behind that and allow them to speak on our behalf. And it goes back to what we talked about before with Candace Owens, where like I think anything she says about Black Americans, she needs to shut her mouth. Like I'm really tired of hearing her, bro, and I'm tired of Negroes entertaining her, bro. Like she don't rock with us. She's Black when it's convenient, just like Kamala is. Like if Kamala wasn't Black, do you think she would have any chance of being elected right now, or did she have to be Black because that's the only way that she got a backing at all? And we just like allow her to claim us and use us and then throw us out, and then they keep doing that and we don't wake up. We just like open arms, everybody come in, strengthen numbers, bro. So I don't know, I think that's docile.
So why don't I ain't gonna ask. I ain't gonna re-ask.
Okay, cool. All right, so I think that's a good segue to the actual question. We've kind of slow walked it, so we might not be able to get to all parts of the actual conversation. But I guess I'll just ask y'all the overarching question, and y'all can answer that instead of going into like a lot of the many nuances to it. If it allows for it, we'll continue through it. Do we have a Messiah, a savior complex within the Black community? Are we currently waiting and looking for someone to save us?
That's a good
I'll toss that one up in there.
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, we do. And I think me and Quint, we talked about it Sunday about like what the real answer is going to be is the bootstraps. It's do for self. You can't show up for others until you show up for yourself. So like that's the ultimate answer. We all got to figure out how to beat the system on our own, and then once we do that, we hopefully will be able, like we will all improve just naturally by all being better. But we've been trying all these systems and everything. We've been waiting for leaders. He talked about Tupac and Biggie and a bunch of people that have been dead almost as long as I've been alive. And it's like if ain't nobody came yet, pause, but ain't nobody saved us yet, why are we still waiting and not saving ourselves?
Got it.
Did y'all hear that quote where who was the person that was in the FBI that was doing COINTELPRO when he said the fear of a Black Messiah is what their whole purpose was? So I mean,
Hoover.
I think that was Gay Edgar Hoover.
Gay. Wait, oh shit, that was a troll. I see that.
So I mean, I think they know that we have that we have that possibility. Like it just takes the right person with that spark to have a follower. But now, if we see that they've assassinated, it's so easy to strike the shepherd, and the sheep will scatter. To us, to where like, do we even want a leader, or should the leader be the code and being on code and putting your people first? And then, if that's the case, it's like a headless system where everything can just move autonomously without a single point of like of I can't really think of the word. We just need to be all on one accord versus having a single person be our leader. Because look what happened when they killed Malcolm X. Like, it set us back, and Martin Luther King killed us, but it set us back like decades. We still haven't recovered yet. So I don't know if we need a leader, man. Who's the white leader? Who's the Hispanic leader?
And I don't know, but I looked up the definition of Messiah complex, and it's actually, I think, like the opposite.
Oh no. Yeah, it is. It speaks about like a person actually wanting to save people, and that's why I said I wanted to flip it on its head.
Okay, because
if same different with savior complex is the idea of like wanting to save a bunch of people, and that's why I tried to define it out as I spoke through it, because it's a take on the concept where are we a people that are waiting for the Messiah to come?
But I think if we had more of that in us.
More messiahs? You don't think that we lack people that feel like they have heightened importance and that they should be leaders? You see it with the Umar to Tariqs. You can kind of start running down your favorite rapper that want to talk about politics. Like,
but see, I don't think
that we have.
I don't
like
think that's
lack
real.
of people.
I don't think that's true Messiah complex. It's like when I think Messiah complex, I think of like Waco. I think of like the Branch Davidians. I think of Jonestown. I think of like Coach.
Are you talking about like literal cult leaders?
Yes, that's what I think.
But that's not like saving people, though.
I guess not. But I think if we had more of that spirit in us, because they had movements. They was bullshit movements. We don't agree with them. But if you can get 900 people to drink the Kool-Aid, we can talk about that in the sales business. Like,
well, you got more than 900 people inside the FBA movement.
But they're not as passionate as the 900 that went to Jonestown.
Oh, you said they ain't about action.
If you had
oh man,
Great, correct this.
Man, Q, I'm not gonna let you bait. You know that's some bullshit.
I didn't even say it. All I did was say exactly what he was saying.
I don't think
is that what you were saying, Johnny? He said they had 900 that was about action. What action are y'all about?
I didn't say about just FBA in specific. My question is just for the culture in general. It ain't the move. I think the FBA.
But what was your commentary on FBA just then? What did it mean?
I was speaking more to Jonestown and saying because I don't see the FBA. FBA it's a lineage. To me, it's more of a lineage. It's the thing. I don't see the political movement is.
So it's not a movement. Gotcha.
I think of it as a lineage. I am FBA. I think like I say, I think the only way we're gonna get it is we gotta save ourselves. If we wait for FBA to save us, if we wait for the movement to save us instead of all coming out and saving ourselves and doing it ourselves, like that's the best way. Like it might take FBA movement might take another 10 years. Like think about all the other movements. But like if we go and like worry about ourselves and just think like that's the best way. But nobody, even the movement, like I don't think many of these movements are coming to save us. Ain't no man, no movement. It's only gonna be myself.
Got you. G.
Hey, just to make sure I answer this the right way. The question was? What exactly?
Do we have a Messiah complex as Black people? Do we have a Messiah, a savior complex as within the Black community?
Where we're looking to get saved.
Yeah, not explicitly in the sense that we're trying to save like other people inside like the classic definition, but more so, are we waiting and looking for a Messiah?
Yeah,
I gotta say that the answer is yes. But I don't know if that's unique to our community. but I do think, just speaking about our community in general, most people are waiting for the thing that they can like get on the bandwagon for, versus being more of like innovative early adopters of something new. They're gonna wait for that, say, proof of concept first, and then jump on the bandwagon, versus like build the bandwagon.
So, G, I guess I'll throw you this alley oop. This was a piece of the conversation that I want to ask. So, is it a black issue, or have we as human beings been bred to worship idols and seek a savior through religion, mythology, through heroes, from kings to presidents to like whoever your favorite rap artist is, or like Taylor Swift pop artist is? Is this like specifically a black thing, or is this a human conditioned thing that deals with people control?
I would say the latter, in that it has to do with the human condition. All cultures that, like you mentioned, have examples, whether it be from a religious context, entertainment context, sports, whatever the case. Like, we like put people on pedestals for different reasons. We give, like the fact that Taylor Swift endorsed a candidate and it led to like this spike in voter registration and stuff like this. It's just crazy that like somebody who sings can.
Well, she did that same thing with the NFL.
Yeah. So she moves the needle, no question. But that's just an example. Like, that's not our community. You know what I'm saying? But we do have people in our community where when they start talking and you don't agree, you don't go with what they're saying, you're viewed as like, oh, an outsider or something like that. So I do think it's more of a human condition, but I do think for like our community here in America, it's definitely the case. Like, why are our voices always fucking entertainers? Always. Like, rarely is the black voice represented by somebody who's not in entertainment in the industry in some form or fashion,
or deals within the pageantry still. So really quick, let me see if hey, Black, are you still there?
That nigga gone.
I feel like it. Hey, Black, here you go. All right, talk to us, hey, Black.
I missed the question. My bad. I had to run into something.
Oh no, I dig it. So it's the title question, which is: do we have a Messiah / martyr / savior complex within the black community? Using that again, I kind of flipped the definition, not specifically in the sense of like Messiah as in we're trying to save, as much as we're waiting for somebody to save us, waiting for that next big leader to come and direct us in general.
I think at a time we did, but I feel like now, like, not for real. Just like I said earlier, how they don't really respect leaders or respect anybody to follow them as a Messiah. I think in the realm of politics, it's still a little bit of that lingers, where they feel like this next person, the person that, I don't know, Lil Grant, whatever utopia they think is going to be different than whoever. But I don't think the respect level and the value level is there anymore to even have a Messiah to respect and follow. So I don't think we had no Messiah complex. I feel like everybody want to get it how they live, get it themselves.
Yo, can I respond to that real quick, bro?
Yeah, and right now we have looks like two in the back end. We'll be getting to y'all in a second. Again, join the chat. We're not the chat, join the call in. I guess another quick housekeeping note before I go on. We are streaming live at the G-ish podcast and the To Be Fair show page, in which, if you enjoy this conversation, make sure that you hit the super chats, the super thanks on both or either page. Again, listed inside the title, we have everybody's cash apps. As you see, Mayor Charlotte, he got his on his name. If you enjoy commentary from a specific person, hit that cash app. Yeah, again, we're having these good conversations on Wednesdays, just pretty much for the people, pro bono, where, you know, if you have appreciation, show appreciation. Nonetheless, call in dropping soon. Trey,
I heard like Farrakhan make a speech kind of similar to what this topic where he was saying like how white people and black people look at religion. Like black people, they look at religion, they're like, oh look, God, and when God willing is going to rain. And then like white people, they'd be like, they start seeing clouds. And we have these situations where we put this perspective of like, not waiting on God, but we do that versus they make this world into what they want it to be instead of, whereas we have been trained and groomed to wait on our reward in the afterlife for living a good life. And that's kind of like the plantation. Yeah, I'm getting beat up, but if I work hard and trust Jesus and turn the other cheek, then I'm gonna go to heaven. So it's like we get oppressed in the modern day, present day, but we just stay docile, and then we end up having our reward. So it goes back to what we were saying before. I think no other people are groomed to do that. Like no other group of people would be in the courtroom. I don't remember if you remember with the I don't know if you remember when the cop lady busting that man's house and then shot him while he was just chilling. It was like Boko Haram or something. Not Boko Haram. That's the African terrorist group. I'm thinking it's Bookham John was a dude. It was a immigrant dude. So basically, in the courtroom, they forgave the lady, and she went up and gave him a hug. The brother did, and then they were forgiving Dylan Roof. And we see time and time again of civil rights generation black folk talking about they forgive the people after they did some crazy harm to us. And that's some waiting on Messiah thing, because the only reason they do that is because they think that it'll put them in the good graces of God. So rather than defend us now on this earth we live today, they just want to be docile, and they think God will reward them for their passivity, for them for being passive. So,
gotcha. And are those outliers, or is that like representative of the majority?
Bro, I hear so many people from the other generation be heavily on this trust God situation. They think that if we just be good and obedient, it's like the clouds will part, God will come down, and He'll save us. Where I think like prayer without action is not. It's something along those lines. Like you can pray all day
without works is dead or something like that.
Exactly.
I guess my I know my experience would be that. Yeah, most of the black people around me, like the older black people, they don't really like white folk like that. And
they're not on the forgive, turn the other cheek.
No, I personally don't know any of those. Like all of the ones I know don't like or like if I just say that they aren't favorable of white people at all.
But so they're not even Democrat leaning people. Were they voting for like the whatever white man's in office, or do they, how deep is their?
I say that I have family that's Republican and I have family that's Democrat.
So that means that they are teaming up with, like, because you're saying that they're not really rocking with white folk, but then they're.
But if they vote for Trump, aren't they teaming up with white folks?
That's what I'm saying. Like that's such a broad thing to do in general, where you go from saying did you vote Democrat to saying like you have a white savior complex and hugging people. Like that's so like far inside the spectrum to be like it is equal to hugging white people after they done killed you if you voted for Democrat. Like I can't, like that's such a hard comparison in comparison to where they do, like if you just listen to them talk, they don't like Caucasian people.
I guess
they don't have any favor for them.
For it to be an outlier, I can just come up with too many examples off the top of my head. Like when I talk about when I said the Dylan Roof, there was somebody forgiving the person in the one in upstate New York, and then I saw the one with the person that came in the room and shot the person. Like it's a consistent.
But how many
pattern.
of these black people have wanted vengeance, have cared to get the death penalty? How many of these people have like literally went for vengeance? And then if you just go back into the time in which most of these people grew up in, like how many of them were the ones that we were rebelling? And again, if you like, you tend to speak about like our great grandparents' generation, where
our great parents, our parents, and grandparents, our great grandparents were cool. It's the ones in between.
When you say grandparents, which is like again, those are the 60s that went into the 80s.
The integration, the ones that were integrated into
right. But the thing is that like within that is also the like the most rebellious group that we've ever had too.
Was it?
Yeah, we're nowhere near as rebellious as they were. Again, we can't actually say like a thing that we actually did outside of lip service. Like that's why when we start talking tangibles, we like we don't really want to. Like they actually, whether it was like putting their life on the line, whether it was going and carrying guns, whether it was again putting their life on the line inside as many different capacities. Where right now
Black
we're just
Panther Party.
like we're just. I mean, like the NOI, you can go down like. There was only half of like people that like specifically agreed with just the docile, non-violent MLK way of it. There is a whole other group of people that wasn't about that, and those also are that same exact same demographic. In which to demonize it, I only ask. That's why I always ask, what have we specifically done, or what have you or us have we actually did to be able to even like throw a rock?
The Black Panther Party was 80 years ago when it was founded.
Okay.
So to give our parents credit for that, when that was before.
I didn't say my parents. My parents
said
are
our
like,
grandparents.
Yeah,
grandparents
that would be our grandparents' generation. Yes.
like
and you said
80
founded 80 years ago. That's
It was founded in the 60s.
Yeah, but I said you said, and it was the strongest like late 60s into the 70s. That's not 80 years ago.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, it's like 60 years ago. So if it was founded 60 years ago, and I think we're getting the revolutionary spirit back from 60 years ago, but I think the gap in between, I'm trying to think of what credit you would, where was the rebellion in between them offing our civil rights leader and now? Who are you saying was more rebellious than us?
Who am I saying was more rebellious than us?
Yeah, you're saying that. I don't think there were no significant rebellious situations.
Well,
Maybe
one,
like
I was
riots.
I guess I was specifically speaking to the generation that you kind of like, shit on often, which would be like the grandparents' generation.
No, I'm not on the generation from that was marching with.
You just did. You just did.
No. But I'm saying
you said that they after they died, they ended up being like the fallen generation. Yeah, that's shit. No.
Bro, they haven't done anything since the 60s.
All right, we're about to talk in a circle then, because you saying you're not, and then you're about to talk about them.
But you can't tell me anything that they've done since the 60s though, but you're still saying that like they've been revolutionary. That's a big gap, bro. Right?
No,
what am I missing?
No. What I'm saying is, what have we did that accounts to anything close to anything that they have done? If we have did nothing and they did something in the 60s, they still got a leg up, correct?
But bro, I'm not I'm not shitting on the people that did something in the 60s.
All right, so how about this? How about this? So cool. How about this? What have us did? What have we done in this current generation that is comparable?
We about to put the Democrat Party in the dirt, bro. And I think that's a big step because
so nothing yet then.
You can say it's nothing yet, but yeah, I think we're
just making sure so nothing yet.
No, nothing yet. Nah, nothing yet. No. But I think I think we're moving in the right direction. That's for sure. Because I think we've been in this zombie-like state where we were just pulling the ballot box, voting blue, voting against our own best interests. We weren't aware of the foreign element of people among us that may not have our best. We are awake to a lot more things, even as far as our history. I think that there's a foundation that has to be built before you're able to actually make action. And I think we're well into that foundation building. And I think to not give us credit for that is very belittling, especially compared to the fact that we really started out with nothing except for just follow the rules and pull your pants up, young man. And that was pretty much the extent of their revolutionary spirit.
But no actual actions yet. Gotcha.
Yeah, you're right. Right. Building a foundation, I guess, doesn't count as an action unless you
Well, you have to do something.
But when you say build a foundation, are you saying we created the foundation, or was the foundation set, say, in the civil rights era, for example?
I think the foundation was set, and then we learned about the people from that era, dusted off their biographies, dusted off everything about them, and we're picking that mantle up that they left back there. I don't think it's been carried from then there to now.
But we still haven't did like I'm just asking
but
like
when
the
you
revolution. Go ahead.
when you agree though, like because like we talk about how our people we get attacked. Like when you look at
we do got to get to the call. We got like 5 in the back end.
but
Go ahead and hit the point.
We get attacked. Like we got hit with criminalization, with the drug epidemic, and these things disproportionately like were impacting our communities. The way that they tore apart our homes in the 70s and 80s, going into the 90s, post civil rights. So, like, would you agree that part of why things kind of fell off after that era was because the government systematically made it that way?
Of course, most definitely. I wouldn't disagree with that at all.
Okay.
All right. So let's start bringing in the call-ins. So again, our call-in section is now called affectionately no ad hominems, in which let's speak to the concepts. Let's make sure we stay on point. We're gonna give everybody 2 to 3 minutes, kind of get it off. Right now, the topic at hand is: do we have a Messiah complex within the Black community? So we're gonna bring up our first guest, friend of the show. Talk to him.
Uh-oh.
That's
Hey, what's happening, everybody?
What up,
Can you hear me?
Much.
Yo,
Yeah, we get you.
I feel like it is kind of like, you know what I'm saying, we do have a Messiah complex because that's something that I can say I agree with something that Trey said. You know what I'm saying? We're looking for a savior, right? We're looking for a savior, somebody to come out and help us out and do this and that. But we need to have feet down. And I also agree with what he said about, you know what I'm saying, Black people need to want to do for Black people. But as that being said, and everything going on with it, you know, him saying that people shouldn't have a person that's not from, you know what I'm saying, like that's not Black, be our representative, he need to stop trying to be the representative for the hood. He knows nothing about the hood, but when they tell everybody what he saw in movies or what, this or that, whatever stuff, they
hey, just to redirecting. No, I got you, but remember, we're going no ad hominem. So
I don't represent the hood.
No, I got you, but stay to the point. I got you.
Okay,
I'm not hood, bro.
Like the pointed question: do we have a Messiah complex?
Yes, we definitely do. You know what I'm saying? We need to stop looking for somebody to come in and save us and do for ourselves and do the right thing. You know, if you can have self-love, you understand that you want to preserve yourself first and you want to do for self first. And you know what I'm saying? We need to stop looking for somebody to come and save us and just do for our own selves. If we can do for our own selves, it'll be better. And if we have the love of, you know what I'm saying, Black people need to understand that Black people need to get together. Even if it's a different, sometimes getting with others helps out. You know, it doesn't always have to be just people that's from America, that's this or that, whatever. I understand that everybody has different cultures and things like that. But if you look at the European cultures, plenty of countries there, but they stick together. We want to act like we're better than people, but then we say we're the bottom of the barrel. You can't be better than people and be bottom of the barrel at the same time. And that's what it seems like that's happening. I don't understand how that, you know what I'm saying, they don't run together. But, you know, it is here there, but we do have a Messiah complex. We want somebody to come and save us.
Gotcha. Appreciate it, Unc. I'm gonna pull you to the back end. Stick around. It looked like we might have enough time to bring everybody back up for a group discussion. Another favorite to the show. Kamu, talk to us.
Yo, how's it, gents? Yeah, the Black people definitely have a Messiah complex, but the bad news is you're not getting that anytime soon, because American government is very clear about that. You will never get another mainstream Black leader that would lead Black people to the promised land, maybe for the next 50 or 100 years, because the American government has seen what Black people are actually capable of. Hence, we have so many murders and assassinations of genuine leaders 60 years ago. and as you're just not getting there. You're not gonna get a Messiah anytime soon. So thing is now you have to come together as a people, common people, and try to figure out how to get out of this situation.
Gotcha. All right, appreciate it, Kamu. Again, I'm gonna take you to the back end, and I'll bring you back up in a second. Another favorite to the show, Kofi, talk to us. Do Black people have, or do we have a Messiah / martyr / savior complex within the Black community? Are we waiting for someone to save us instead of saving ourselves? Talk to us.
I think I said this before when people were saying when you look at the thumbnail, we see all of the great Black heroes there, right? And someone basically said, "Well, hey, we have all these Black leaders. We need another one because we're waiting for a Messiah." And to quote Dr. Clark, when Dr. Clark was regarding to this, he said, "Well, what did you do with the message that the ones they gave you?" Right? So there is a blueprint for what we have to do moving forward. I think we're not following it. As far as the Messiah complex, if the Black community does have a Messiah complex, I mean, as from a religious standpoint, so there is docility there. We also fall for cultists, we fall for divestors and hashtag people and swindlers and grifters and stuff like that. That shit sounds good, but again, when we go to the core of it, yes, we do have a Messiah complex, but I think we're following the wrong people, right? Instead of the right people that we hold in high esteem, right? So I think for the past 2 generations or so, we have diverted from the message those people that you have on your thumbnail. Another thing I want to mention also that I agree with G said earlier. I think we were talking about Black people's docility and sheepish behavior, and how Black people had to fight to get the little rights that we do have versus let's say like Asians and other people. They don't necessarily have to do that, right? And I agree with that wholeheartedly, right? The only thing I'll do a little pushback on that was he said, which I didn't know, he said there's a community in somewhere in North Carolina. It was the Ethiopian community, and I kind of think that's a bad example because again, Black people coming, like Black immigrants that's come here also. Obviously, we all know they're within that same fight. They're within that same struggle. Obviously, with this climate that we know, it's political climate that we are. Republicans and racists saying, "Hey, Haitians eat pets" and all this other nonsense. These are just typical tropes that they have. And I think Trump said the other day that he's going to go to Springfield. Hopefully, he makes it out of there. So he's calling them cannibals, which goes back to things that white people has been telling, fear mongering about Black people for a long time. But to put an end on it, yeah, I'm pretty sure we do have a Messiah complex, but I think it's us following the wrong people and us being too Christianized. So
got it. Yeah. Take you to the back end and bringing up another favorite of the show, TBI, FBA Zone. Talk to us.
What's good, brothers? Can you hear me?
Yep.
What's good?
Yeah, I would say when we say Black, are we saying all Black people, or are we saying Black people in America?
Right now, this is specified to Black people in America.
I would say some of us have a Messiah complex. I think it lies in.
Do you think majority minority?
I would say it's kind of generational. I feel like back in the day, like you said, they kind of went into like a more docile state under integration, and I think kind of like Trey was talking about, like we're waking up, this millennial and generation on us. We're like waking up and like, hey, y'all ain't really setting it up for y'all just been telling us to vote when we're in there. So I think we're kind of waking up and being less docile. Because I mean, you even look at stuff like the George Floyd thing. Like I feel like most of that was the young people that was out there kind of pushing back on that. Like I feel like if it was up to the older generation, they just kind of would have let it be and forgot about and moved on. So I think I think it's half and half, where you got this younger generation coming up, waking up, more access to information, trying to really change things. Because you usually look at reparations, like how that's like in the news cycle now. Like I feel like the last two presidential campaigns, it wasn't. So it's like you can see the changes coming, and those changes are being made by this younger generation. So I would say that. And then as far as like the martyr complex, I feel like Black Americans, we have been a lot of martyrs for people, but we're kind of waking up to that. Like a lot of groups that come over here will try to ally with them. They'll get to a certain point and then try to look down on us, even though we helped them. So I think we're waking up to that to see like, hey, we just gonna focus on ourselves. And then now people are calling that divisive, even though we've been trying to help everybody this whole time. So I think it's kind of like on both sides.
Gotcha. And I guess you stepped towards Samu, mute your mic. But yeah, so you step towards where I want to kind of push the ending of the conversation, where again it is speaking about like the Messiah complex, the Savior complex, right? But it seems to seem within the Black community, what that ends up being is a martyr, in which to me it almost like inside like a coin now, a martyr complex, where it has now seemed that we value the voice of the Black and dead to a higher esteem than the people that are like currently out here, or even when they were alive. I think Nipsey would be a great example of that. You can kind of point to a lot of different people where their words reverberated so much heavier once they were passed. I'd love for everybody to kind of speak to that. Do y'all think that in the same sense that we have a Messiah complex, we have a martyr complex as well?
Definitely. We definitely have one, because it's nobody thinks about what a person while they're still alive, how great they was. It's always after they die. And even like a person will say something like, "Oh, Tupac did this." Tupac was an actor. Tupac wasn't a revolutionary. He was just an actor. He was an actor that he was just a performer. And why is it that we always have to have entertainers and performers be our leaders? Why can't we have true leaders? He was the entertainer. I wish people would stop putting him into him being some type of revolutionary person. He was a bipolar entertainer. That's what he was.
I don't know about that.
I gotta push back on a little bit of that. I mean, Pac was raised by a Panther. He had affiliations. Like Tupac was an artist, unquestionably an actor. I mean, he was just a Renaissance man. Frankly, I mean, you can question his sexuality or mental state or whatever the case. I don't know those details, but he's not just an actor.
What?
I never questioned his sexuality. I said that he was bipolar. That's what I said.
Word, yeah. When I be hearing that word "bi," I be here, yeah.
I wouldn't disrespect that man like that. I wouldn't disrespect.
But I would say that is something that's been introduced inside the lexicon.
Yeah, it's been in the zeitgeist recently.
It has been. But yeah, again, I guess I'll toss it up in the air. Whoever else want to continue to the conversation. Are we now starting to suffer from a martyr complex where the people that we revere and look at almost as like posthumous leaders are the ones that have been martyred? And to A Black's point earlier, no matter who the leader is now today, all we do is search the internet for chinks in the armor.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with
that. I don't think there's any Black leaders that we're following right now. Any people,
gotcha. And we're gonna go Kofi and TBI. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think that any people or person that we could say is a credible Black leader that has the respect of the Black community as a whole, right? So I see where the question is, but there is no one that we could say that. I mean, we have intellectuals, we have think tanks, we have people like that, but I won't say there's one individual person that we have where black people are just following. But I do agree that there are a lot of individuals, a lot of black people that are putting in the work that where we're not giving them their flowers as of right now. But to say a black leader, like it reminds me of something when people say, like, it's like when, not saying that's what your intention is, but you know, white media will say, "Oh, the black leader. This guy is a black leader because he's saying for he's talking on behalf of black people." But no one goes to when
Yeah, the
something
Al
happens to white
Sharpton,
people. Yeah,
the
yeah.
Jesse
Let's
Jacksons.
yeah. Oh, let's go talk to the white leader. There's no such thing as the white leader. There's no such thing as the Mexican leader. You see what I'm trying to say? So it's kind of like I see what you're saying, but in this day and age, we really do not have a leader, a leader per se. We have individuals that that contribute a lot to where we have to move forward, but we don't have a leader, pretty much. And
Yeah, yeah.
I
No,
know I'm a
I
little
know.
bit off topic.
Yeah,
I
I was about to
I
say
want to
that.
mention something real quick. There's the Asian hate crime bill that was mentioned. I forgot to mention this also. Is the Asian hate crime bill is not only for Asians. They only call it the Asian crime hate bill because it was something that was happening during COVID, and Donald Trump was stoking fear about Asians, and it's coming from China. It's not just for Asian people. It was mentioned that also.
Thank you.
Have y'all read the bill?
No,
Have
I'm
you read
actually
the
about to
bill?
look it up right now, but yeah. No, I got you. I guess the only pushback that I do have for you would be the black leader comment, where even though I guess that wasn't specifically what I was asking, I don't know if there's ever been a time that the black majority has been behind a specific leader. I think that even if you look back to like the civil rights movement, it's always been like fraction pieces of people that have believed in different things. Some people were like nonviolent. Some people were about segregation even at that time. Some people were like just pure capitalists. Like there's a bunch of different movements that have always coexisted to where, and that's to an extent where the martyr complex that I was explaining comes in, where inside the hindsight viewpoint of a lot of these people, it is painted as everybody agreed with them during that time, where that's not specifically what it's been. And like the romanticization, there we go, romanticization of these people tends to kind of like skew the viewpoint of
But
history.
I think
I
But not
think
all
G about
black
to go
people
there, Johnny.
agreed with Martin Luther King. They had some black people saying, you fucking our shit up." Leave these
Oh no,
white
well,
people alone.
that's what I was saying. That's kind of the point that I was driving.
It was a major majority during Martin Luther King that did not like him and they disagreed with him. It was after his death that he became that way, because a lot of people just thought that he was too docile. And if y'all saying all the things about that, you look at him and everything. He got beat all upside the head and he's going in and out of jail. We should overcome and all this stuff. What? Hey, what did it do? You know what I'm saying? It got attention, but he was very docile as a person.
Mm-hmm.
I disagree with that.
I said, like, to Q's point, it's been like that in America, like when you had Booker T. Washington and W. Du Bois. And it's like it's like always like these fractions of black leaders, and they tend to have the same destination with different pathways of getting there typically. And like you said, it's really been a reoccurring theme for Black Americans since Black Americans have had a voice or a platform to have a voice. It's kind of always been put like this, to where we're pitted against each other and not on the same accord, in my opinion.
Got it, Johnny.
Well, like to answer to the first question, like about like do we have the martyrdom complex? I think we, of course, like I think it's just natural. Like even like with the Pac, Biggie, Malcolm, Martin, Booker T, Du Bois, it's like we can have these schisms, but then once somebody's no longer here, even on both sides, we look at them and we romanticize it, because that's what when your words are scarce. Like once you go, there's no other words. You just got to take what they said and study it and use it. You can't take it for granted no more. That's a lot of time what we do with like family members. You don't want to talk to your grandma, but then when she died, you go and listen to all the messages and replay them and do all of that because you ain't got it no more. And I think that's just a natural thing. I think we'll probably see even like with the Nipsey. We see how like I was on Nipsey, but Nipsey wasn't as popular before he died as he is. I think after his death, I think you definitely saw a rise in that.
Either was Pop Smoke.
Pop Smoke, but I think Nipsey is an example where he was given gems, and I think like even after the death, like
he blew up way bigger like post Thomas for sure.
but he planted trees, and there's a lot of I think you've seen a lot of even like once COVID hit the investment boom. I think a lot of that had to do with some of the seeds that Nipsey planted.
Right, FBA brother. So I guess we got 10 minutes left. Perfect time to give everybody pretty much a minute. Just run down like your last final thoughts, and let them know where they can find you at. Try and keep it at a minute. If you see me do this, that means that you didn't hit a minute. G.
Man, I think I pretty much said what I need to say. I just want to shout everybody for listening and joining. Make sure you check out the G Shit podcast wherever you get your podcasts. You can find it hashtag GSHPOD. We focus on family, friends, finances, freedom, and our future, and fuck everything else.
FBA, Trey, talk to him.
Man, to sum it up, I would say our Messiah should be the code. The code can't be martyred. And as soon as we're all on one code, and we're on one accord, then nobody can stop us. And I think that comes from our identity, which we're getting more closer to that because we have access to all this information and we're able to connect with each other, the people that are like-minded. So I think I think the FBA movement is young, but a lot of the things we talk about that are revolutionary come from a lot of the elements of that movement, which is to focus on your lineage, focus on your history, lift up your revolutionaries, and then use that to work towards dismantling the system of white supremacy and replacing it with a system of justice. So as long as we keep that up, I think we'll be on the right track. That's it.
Got it. A Black.
Yeah, man, I'm just happy to be here. Sorry I've been in and out tonight, but great conversation. And just to wrap it up, I think like I said, I think we do have a savior complex, but more so the concept of a savior than an actual reality one, because we don't got no real leaders. We don't expect no real leaders. And anytime somebody gets put in that position, they get vetted really hard. And I think our culture at this point gets off on showing why somebody isn't deserving of a position, why they're not pristine, why they're not perfect, why they can't speak on this. It's the exposing era, I guess, So, and in that era, it's hard to have anybody stand for anything because it's like you can't be all good. Something got to be wrong with you. And every week it's a new domino, it's a new black man in the news. I think while we was on this pod today, Eric Adams got indicted. So like every week, it's somebody new. But
we knew that was coming though. Pause. We knew that was coming.
All right. Let them know where they can find you, A Black.
Hey, follow me at Mayor of Charlotte on Instagram, and yeah.
And hit that Cash App, A Black TV. Johnny.
Cash App.
Oh yeah, this was a good one. I like this concept. I think we broke it down good. I think we kind of touched on it last Sunday. I think the best way for us to be a saviors would be individual. Save yourself, raise your individual standard, and that raises the collective standard. And I think that's the best thing we can do right now for each other and for ourselves and for our community.
Got it. TBI.
Trying to go back to the modern thing. I think we have to pull from like our revolutionaries in the past, like Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, pull from them. But as far as like having like one main person, I think we similar to what Trey was saying about a code, maybe even like a council of people instead of one person. Because sometimes in the past, we've had this one person who left from out there to get assassinated and things die. But if you got a council of people or a bunch of people on code, the movement can keep going instead of having it with one or two people that can get taken out and slow down the movement.
Got it. Talk to him.
Yo, yeah, you know, the Messiah complex is weird, but you know what I'm saying, it's something that is relevant. But also, you know what I'm saying, for us saying about a leader, I believe we do have some people that are leaders, but I believe Farrakhan is a leader. But I don't think that most people, you know what I'm saying, the white media tore him down and they tear him down, you know. But there's not much that we can do about that because it's not, you know what I'm saying, because he's a religious leader more than anything. That's what people would consider him being. So, you know, that will be a leader to me. That's who I would say that black people do have, at least him. And after he gone, then you'll see how people talk about how great he was and all this stuff. But you know, it is what it is. We live in that type of time, and you know, I just wish people would stop hood tethering. That's all. All right.
All right. Kamu.
Hold on a sec. For me, Farrakhan is just like Al Sharpton, no difference. He's black people should forget about Messiah for now. At least put it on hold. You have a collective obligation to see to it that you are setting a favorable foundation for the next generation to propel your struggle to a different dimension. Otherwise, forget about leaders and messiahs, and you have it upon yourselves.
Got it. Kofi.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kofi. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like I say, good show. I like the topic. It's something that needs to be revisited. We do have a Messiah complex in a way, but I feel we don't follow what was laid before us, and we have not followed through that. But we do have faith, and we put a lot of stock in people who are quote unquote leaders, online leaders, and things of that nature, where we put in too much of our energy, and we're not really following the right Messiah who's been educated, who are boots on the ground and just not just spewing rhetoric. And obviously, I have a gripe with religious martyrs. So I think black people, that's what's holding us back, is pretty much that's making us docile, is we put our faith in leaders that is not really doing anything, and the people that kind of move the needle in a good way, we're not picking up what they're doing or advancing what they did. So, but good topic, good show. You can reach me at Kofi the Black Critic. That's my YouTube channel, and that's pretty much a good show, guys.
Got it. All right. And so nonetheless, this has been a great show. Again, the title topic: do we have a Messiah / martyr / savior complex within the black community? It sounds like unanimously the answer has been yes. As well as we asked the question, are we as black people become docile and sheep? It seemed like the unanimous answer to that as well was yes. I guess the only question I would pose to the audience, to the panel, if this is so, what actual actionable items and steps are we doing to make sure that we change this thing outside of things that could just be considered as internet fodder, things that we're like just saying on the internet, and not actual actionable items? That's my only challenge to everybody. If we are pushing to make an actual movement, I just would love to see some of the tangible manifestations of that specific thing. And with that said, this has been the To Be Fair show and the G-ish podcast presenting Unpacked. With that said, we out. Peace.